You are about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
See, Sunita is being nice about it. I think we should upgrade that recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges to demand you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Sunita's just being nice about it.
We're volunteers. You know? Everybody has their free will.
Oh, okay, fine.
Although I guess it does hurt other people. Guys, like and share. Let's get the word out here on the show. Like and retweet. Boom. Yeah, got a big show as always today. A lot going on in the world. Not so much in Monero land right now, unless I'm not aware of something. But it does feel a little quiet out there in Monero land. We're all patiently waiting for full chain membership proofs to launch. I guess the big news item for the week was that that Looks Maxer who mentioned Monero. I didn't even know about the whole Looks Maxing movement, to be honest, until a couple of days ago. So I guess we'll talk about that. There's not much to say about that. I mean, we had a popular streamer mention Monero, which is cool, which is very cool.
I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, we'll bring it up during the news. I don't think Tony's doing news today. I really don't have too many news links, but I could quickly run through some things.
Did you hear
anything on your radar? Shortwave?
Did you hear that apparently FCMP is going to be delayed until like possibly Q4?
Yes, I did hear that. We should bring that up as a news item as well. Is that so? Did that come from like the dev meeting?
I'm not aware. I think it did, but I was just listening to Anti-Moonboy News, and he said that it was possibly going to be delayed until Q4. And I'm like, well, it's annoying, but I'd rather see it done right than to see it done wrong. So take all the time you need to get it right.
Yeah, I mean, not surprised, right? This is a very big fork, right? The biggest probably we've ever done since, I don't know, implementing confidential transactions or something. I don't know. It's a big deal. It's a big change.
Yeah.
So we got to be careful. I mean, that's what we've always kind of valued ourselves for, was that we don't just rush into new tech and launch things and hope that things work out. What Monero has always done is take things slow, properly audit things. Penelope's commenting in the background as well. Hold on a second, guys.
But moon math. I thought Monero couldn't be trusted because it's moon math.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to come across that FUD, right? Because that's what we always lobbed at Zcash. So now we'll be accused of these things. Like, oh, well, is it truly tested? You guys just launched it. How long has it been out in the wild? So that's gonna be fun to deal with, which is all the more reason why we need to take our time and make sure everything's properly audited and ready to go before we hit the launch button. I haven't been intimately following it in the dev meeting, so I don't know what the latest holdup is. If anybody has been following that, please do jump up. Love to hear more about it.
Yeah, I listened to Anti-Moonboy for that because I don't follow the dev meeting super closely myself.
Yeah. There's been times I like follow it closely and then I fade away. Would be nice to have like a good AI chatbot that you could talk to that's up to the latest meeting notes. But yeah, I haven't followed it recently, so I don't really know what the latest reason is.
Get Monero.com/Monerochan-AI.
Guys, like and share. Let's get people in here. Let me repost here on Twitter. We are live. We are live. Boom. We have Joe I.O. coming on the show. He created the Monero One wallet. I don't know much about it, which is why we're bringing him on the show. Actually, Alaska reached out to me. He said, let's get this guy on the show. So we'll get him up. I have seen like posts on X about it, but I never stopped to really learn much. But I think it looks like it's a serious project that's moving forward. I don't know if they did it launch already. I don't really know what it is compared to other wallets. Is it just a client on a computer? Is it just is it an app yet? Is it on phones, on iOS, or is it just like desktop? I don't even know. So we'll get Joe I.O. up here. Exciting to see that there's more and more projects being launched on Monero. I spoke about this last week. I'm just seeing a lot of new projects being put out there. So people are trying things. There's a lot of entrepreneurship happening in Monero land right now, which is extremely bullish to see. You really don't see that in any other privacy coin, where the actual network is being built out among the people that are actually using this, right? So beyond just the protocol, but the actual ecosystem is being built out. All the services that you'd want to see that will be Monero based. Obviously, we have XMR Bazaar. We've been making a lot of progress with that. But I'm seeing lots of other things, apps, especially people that are now vibe coding using AI. So very exciting to see that. And honestly, I don't really see that happening anywhere else. Not trying to shit on any other projects, but just to point out that's what makes Monero unique. There's a large group of people now that are actively using Monero and building in the ecosystem. Yeah, it does feel like we're perhaps in the midst of finally crossing the chasm. So
This isn't
bullish as always.
This isn't specifically Monero related, but I would like to hear your opinion and then possibly get the viewers on stage opinion once that happens. I've heard that Square by Jack Dorsey is going to be enabling Bitcoin Lightning payments for 4 million merchants by default, and so you could do a swap from Monero to Bitcoin and pay for things if needed. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts, and I'm curious to hear what the viewers think when they come up on stage later on.
Yeah, just that they Square already had Bitcoin built into it, no?
Yes, they did, but it was not on by default. Now it's actually going to be like they've changed their terms of service. It was off by default before. Now it's going to be on by default, and they'll have to specifically opt out of it if they want to not have it.
Yeah, I did see that. That's awesome, right? It's bullish for crypto adoption. Obviously, it'd be nice if they were natively accepting Monero. But
it certainly would be.
not there yet. I don't think Dorsey's a Monero bro. Maybe secretly in some way. But yeah, what you're saying is right. It's still it's a bonus for Monero adoption, right? Because you could effectively use Monero, swap into Bitcoin on the spot and buy things. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So like if you needed to, you could just do one of those like how Cake Wallet has the swaps or whatever, where you can just go directly from Monero to Lightning.
Yeah,
you could theoretically just do that and pay for your whatever with Lightning, even though they don't accept Monero directly. At least they accept some sort of crypto, so it still makes it usable with Monero.
Yeah, and that's still pretty private in that instance, right? If you're just going to a place, obviously there's no KYC involved. You're just buying something. And then you're just instant swapping into Bitcoin Lightning to pay. That's pretty good. Obviously, it's sucks you're paying a little transaction fee there, but certainly adds to adoption and the ability to live off of Monero. I got to give that a try. That would be a good experiment. Go try to do that out in the wild.
Yeah, I think that'll make living on your Monero easier, even if it does involve Bitcoin. Blech.
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin's not going anywhere, guys. Bitcoin is here to stay, which is a good thing, right? They were the first. We just know they're flawed in many ways. Monero is just the next evolution, and it's benefiting from the trail that Bitcoin has already walked. And yeah, it's it's perhaps the trunk of the tree. Monero is one of the perhaps the largest branch off of it, we could say. But they are connected in that Bitcoin was the first. It's a great way to get ultimately get money into Monero via Bitcoin. Bitcoin is obviously on all the exchanges, always has been. Monero, not so much. So Bitcoin is tethered very much so to the current financial system. Monero is disconnected off on its own, but connected to it via other cryptos like Bitcoin and whatnot. So yeah, it's always it's as we see growth in Bitcoin, it's bullish for Monero. It really is. And people are becoming more aware of Bitcoin's flaws. Even this guy that we'll bring up later in the news, the Lux Maxer, Clavicle or something is his name. Clavicular, I think is his name. Not only has he mentioned Monero, but somebody posted a video of him bashing Bitcoin, which is interesting. So, he's a popular guy, has a large following, a lot of young people. Whether you agree with his standpoints on things is beside the point. He's extremely popular, millions of followers, and they're young people. So very interesting to see that this young influencer is pro Monero, anti Bitcoin. Like,
So what?
That's
what
where
is
we
his,
want to be, guys.
What is his thing? Is he like one of those politician? Like, is he like a politician type person, like Joe, like Charlie Kirk was?
No. He's like a Nick Fuentes type figure, but just into his looks.
Okay.
So he's all about experimenting, using the latest, I think, drugs or whatnot to maximize his looks. Essentially, I haven't really gone deep down the rabbit hole. I did watch some videos, and now I have his videos popping up all over my feed. I mean, a lot of it's extremely cringe. I mean, not for me, right? Fun to watch a little bit of it, like kind of like watching, shitty movie or something like that you shouldn't be watching. Like, it feels like reality TV type stuff. Somebody described it as like the Kardashians, but for the manosphere. The manosphere Kardashian.
I could not bring myself to subject myself to that.
He's a looks maxer. Yes. Apparently this is a thing, looks maxing. People are saying, Doug, I thought you were a looks maxer in X when I was I'm a health maxer. Definitely a health maxer. Definitely not a looks maxer, as you can tell by my receding hairline. I don't think that's allowed in the looks maxing community. They would frown upon that, I believe. But I am interested in I following all the peptide stuff, all that stuff. Never took steroids in my life. I'm au natural. I've always lived that type of lifestyle, trying to eat organically, work out, not too crazy. So yeah, I'm more of a health maxer than a looks maxer. The looks maxing thing just feels wrong. Feels sinful. People literally just caring not only about, but making that their top priority in life. Seems very shallow.
I think
right?
I think I am probably an open source maxer because I find myself getting more and more militant on open source as time goes on.
Yeah. But cool to see that this movement is embracing Monero. LOL Doug is a claviculite. I mean, I watched some of his videos. It is entertaining. I'm not gonna lie, but it's like I have two daughters, right? I'm not gonna go down that road, so talking about that stuff. But he's very very insulting. He's trying to expose the evil side of women, right? I don't know. Maybe he was hurt at some point in life by a female, but it seems like that's like a lot of what he's about. Um, Entertaining, but at the expense of these women who are being shown. You're kind of like ruining their lives. He's like ruining a lot of young people's lives. I don't know. I guess the young people don't care. They don't like. We used to do these things. They would happen at a bar or whatever, a house party, right? These interactions always happened. Frat parties were always a thing, but now it's like literally live streamed. So you're seeing kind of people in their worst moments of their lives, things that they probably regret, things that they'll look back upon with shame, and it's like them being broadcasted to millions of people as they're doing it. And it's great for the views. People enjoy it. He has a large following. But I watched it. I'm like, oh man, this is where we're at with society. This is what's popular right now. I mean, it makes sense, but it's hard to watch. Hard to witness. Easy to watch because it is entertaining, but hard to be okay with it. I don't know, Shortwave. What do you think? I know you don't really know the guy. We'll bring him up. And like I said, I'm not, let him do his thing. But I'm not a big, like, pro Manos, like Andrew Tate and all those guys. Like, I love that they're embracing privacy coins in Monero. Don't get me wrong. If they ever want to come on a show or something and chat about it. I love some of their views, like the whole like we're living in a matrix, let's escape the matrix thing. Yeah, I align with those concepts. But there's also this side of it that's just like so inappropriate, and it just feels like it's degrading our culture or what our culture should be.
Yeah, those are those types of people where you've just got to talk about what very specifically you have in common, and like leave everything else way off to the side. Like you put that way over there, and we're not going to touch that.
Yeah. I mean, I like some of their views and some of their things, right? Yeah, like I said, a lot of it's entertaining, but to see like all these young people, especially young men, just like being behind this movement, it's a little scary to witness. It'd be nicer if the leaders that were leading this movement, I don't know, were a little more gentleman-like, right? We could use a little bit of that. Even like a Nick Fuentes character, extremely intelligent dude, very charismatic. I enjoy listening to him, right? It is entertaining, but he just he has that, that side to him, which obviously is what makes him popular, right? Is because he's speaking what he sees as his truth with zero filter in a very eloquent way, and he's right about some things. Obviously has amazing analysis. Really keeps up with things that are going on. But then there's just also the culture that he claims to be like a Christian and whatever, and I just don't see the Christian values there in some of the things he does. And I guess that's ultimately what I don't like about that whole. It seems hypocritical in ways because there is a lot of overlap with like the, being Christian and Christ is king, right? So I don't know. When I go to church, or when I used to go to church, maybe I got to start going again. Honestly, I've been thinking about it, given everything that's going on. Been feeling the pull of that spiritual side in me. But and I used to be more of a part of that growing up. None of that was there. That type of culture. It was the opposite, right? Being kind to each other, being great. You could have your thoughts about things, but I don't know. I don't see how that's the Christian way when you listen to these guys. Shortwave, I don't know. What do you think, man?
I don't really have much else to say. Do we have Body up yet?
Yeah, I'll bring Buddy up. He just jumped up on stage. We could go ahead and I guess we'll bring him up first. Do a little small talk.
Yo,
What's up,
Buddy, what's up, man?
hey. Just listening to you guys talk about clavicular and the cargo culting of masculinity.
You're right. I mean, what's going on with that? What's going on with that?
Yeah.
What men are young men supposed to look up to now that Chuck Norris is gone? Yeah. Is that right? We transitioned from Chuck Norris to clavicular.
I don't know. I say that hero worship is, I don't know, hero worship, clout chasing, that's all external validation. And that's very, like, non-masculine. Like, if you need someone else to tell you how great you are, or you need to be part of some group to feel good about yourself,
Exactly.
You know, you
no
work on,
alpha
like,
is
releasing
close.
those kinds of attachments.
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah, no alpha is like sitting there and watching videos of Andrew Tate being like, how do I live my life? Like, it's like if you're there, you've already lost, right? Your instinct should be turn it off. Like, sure, if you see the guy in the real world, you know, go shake his hand, have a conversation. But to follow these people and become part of a movement, I don't know.
They
I
have,
couldn't agree with you more, buddy.
There are some reasonable ideas kind of floating around that general space.
Yeah,
like there's kind of an Evo psych thing going on, right? There's kind of like that perspective to it. And I think there's a lot to be said for the fact that we're all still monkeys, right? It's not just women that have these kind of like dark desires or like, you know, under things in the side of their brain. Men have very similar things too. We just have different ones. That's all. And so you have to, like, I don't know, it's about self-awareness. It's about understanding humans and the animal that's still in us. And there's even like religious stuff that kind of like goes along the same line. And the idea is to sort of gain some level of self-mastery, self-awareness, self-control, and then to understand the landscape. And while the red pill Andrew Tate guys or whatever, they tap into a lot of that and they get a lot of stuff right. It's just that, you know, they kind of like caricaturize some of that, I think.
Yeah. And it works, right? At the end of the day, they just want money, they want hits, they want followers.
Yeah.
They're selling a dream. It's the opt out of the Matrix dream.
Some of it's pretty entertaining too.
Oh yeah, that's what I said. It's entertaining in a bad way though, right? Like you're like, oh man, did I just like watch 20 minutes of that? Oh boy, it's embarrassing.
Maybe Andrew Tate should have gone into like comedy instead of influencer.
Probably he's doing quite well in the influencer thing, that's for sure.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't make as much money in comedy.
Yeah. But this clavicular guy, did you know about him before like 5 days ago?
Yeah.
But is he even on X, or he just streams?
No idea.
Does he even have an X account?
I swear that sounds like a cancer. I'm sorry to inform you, but you have been diagnosed with clavicular cancer.
I think I got a case of the clavicular. Yeah, I do. So what? But tell us more about him. Like, what is his deal?
I only know the most peripheral kind of stuff, but he got, you know, because he hangs out with some of the influencer guys, so you see a few videos. But yeah, I mean, he got started when he was like, I don't know, 15 or 16, so he wasn't really fully developed, and he was like, he decided he had to look smack, so he started doing all this crazy shit, started getting surgeries, and now he's like, look how good I look, and it's like, bro, you were already going to develop more masculine features, and just hit the gym, bro. Like if at worst take some fucking Anavar, like if you have to, like if you can't fucking control yourself. But
right at that age, doing like steroids and stuff, like what are you doing, bro? Just eat some steak, eat some eggs, do some push-ups and pull-ups, and go out in the sunshine, and you'll be a beast.
Yeah.
Like, right? And he's like 18 years old, 19 years old.
I don't know how old he is now. I felt like he was in his early 20s now. I don't know.
Okay, still.
The only thing about doing steroids when you're young, like that's like the opposite of it helps you look smacks at a young age, but then you're fucked after like 28 because steroids make you age so fast.
Yeah.
Like you can tell, like dudes that do exogenous testosterone, they gain like 10 years practically overnight.
Yeah, I mean the steroid things makes sense at our age, my age, like if you're ever gonna do it in your life, that's the time to start thinking about it.
What's funny though is that if you spent most of your life lifting and working out, like reasonably being healthy and trying to get, I don't know, because dudes want to get swole, right? That's the idea.
Yeah,
If you spent most of your life doing that, by the time you get to your age, like, bro, you don't need to like put on any more size. Like, you're fine.
Right. And
I guess if you're trying to compete in the sexual marketplace with a bunch of dudes that are jacked as fuck because they're all doing steroids, but they're also ugly as fuck, because they did too many steroids.
Yeah. If that's your trajectory, it's just a sad lifestyle at that point. I mean, yeah, but I am interested in that stuff from the standpoint of healing injuries. So I've been thinking about like going down the peptides route. I haven't experimented with it yet, but that's
you got to get into fascial training, bro. I'm telling you, it's revolution. It's
we
learned in the past 10 years. Like because medical science used to consider the fascia system largely passive. But then we realized that it's actually very active. It has as many neurons or nerve endings as your muscles do.
You're really just talking about the connection between your muscles and your skeleton, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just that though. It's not just the connection. It's like it's a hydraulic system. It absorbs impact. So because water is incompressible, so let's suppose you get hit by a punch or hit by a car, it doesn't matter. When that hit happens, the water doesn't compress, which allows an near instantaneous distribution of that force load over the rest of your fascial system. It's the difference between someone that can take a bad fall and get up and like shrug it off versus someone that trips over their own feet and breaks their arm. So there's that. Those are those aspects to it, but there's also kind of your snap reflex action as well, like that stretch retraction. So fighters, for example, they don't necessarily look like they're that strong, but they're hella fast, and they're like the power behind their punches is massive. A lot of that again has to do with fascial system stuff like sprinting, and so what happens is your fascia becomes dehydrated. So it's not robust, it's not thick, and I think like since I started training, I feel like I put on probably maybe like 3 to 5 pounds of just fascia weight, mostly probably water, because I sort of rehydrated a lot of that tissue that was probably not doing as great. Because I'm kind of like you, like I just wanted to lift, and I figured that's easy, and I don't want to spend too much time in the gym. But I realized that these creeping kind of like pains and stiffness, that's all fascia. It's because I hadn't trained those systems properly. And there's it's fascia is generically your collagen matrix, and it's like your tendons, your ligaments, but also the epimysium and that surrounds your muscles, that gives your body shape. And that whole system needs to be trained. And that helps your joints, and it helps your movement patterns, it helps your stability, helps everything.
So what does the training involve? Like what type of exercises are there? I've seen some stuff in my X feed. There's this one guy who's all about it.
Yeah, so there's kind of 3 things that I personally train. One is range of motion, just like static stretching to get that range. Another is impact training. So like I have like a 20-pound medicine ball, like a small rubber one that I will just drop on my abs. Or like, even just like punching a bag, like doing fight training, impact kind of stuff. And then the other one is plyometric, where you're sort of doing rapid movements like pogos, but you have to involve rotation in a lot of these too, like your core, your hips, all of these things. Like you have to involve rotational stuff. And again, it's like quick kind of movements, dynamic kind of stuff. The other one that I do actually is trigger point. So, and it's not just like small trigger point. Like I try and like, because you can do like trigger point that's kind of massage that sort of like gets you relaxed, but you can also do it in a way that is like sort of really deep tissue massage. So I'll do a lot of, and I'll kind of like break them up, because it's a lot of stuff. You can't do it all in one day. And it's, you got to play the long game on this one. Like if you lift for like 2 or 3 months, you're like, yeah, I did good. And you can see more size and strength, and you'll get those gains with fascia, but the real adaptations take like 3 to 6 months to really start showing up. But those are the kinds of things that you would do. There's really a whole bunch of stuff that you can do. And really like, you really just want to start doing anything. But personally, I would probably recommend for most people, just starting like with sort of simple rotational movements. You don't have to go crazy hard, crazy fast at first. Just like work into them gently. And like one good thing that you can do that's really easy is just, they call them pogos, like a pogo stick. So you're just sort of bouncing up and down on your calves. You're like jumping as high as you can. as fast as you can, and that's like a calf training. You're getting the stretch reflex training in there, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. I couldn't like tell you everything, but that's the kinds of stuff that you would do.
All right. Yeah, I started doing a little stuff like that. I mean, in the summer, that's basically what I work out outside in the summer, just like a couple times a week. Just, a sprint a little bit, do some pull-ups, do some push-ups, and then, like jump up and down, stuff like that.
Right on. Yeah, that's definitely an aspect there. Try to add some. I don't know if you got like stiffness or anything, like, because I had like a little bit of stiffness in my hips, my lower back for some period of time, and it was never getting better. I was like, so I had to start adding some rotational stuff, some hip exercises, stuff that's a little bit different, but you got to have that stuff in there, and that'll help.
Yeah, I have like a hip thing that I've had for years now. It's like it's almost in my quad or whatever. I can't even figure out what the hell it is, to be honest. Had it for years now. Tried to like squat my way through it and do things. It just actually I found when I stopped working, like going to the gym, and I just started sprinting a couple times a week, then it went away.
Nice.
But now it came back because it was winter and I haven't been outside. I just need to get to a place where I could work out outside every day in the sunshine. I think that will be like, the best way for me to increase my health, I feel like. But yeah, I have persistent like injury. I told you about my ankle injury and whatever. I got that operated on. So that's why I don't run anymore long distance. I'll just do sprints. And it's okay. At least I could sprint. And honestly, I think the running long distance thing isn't that good overall anyway. Just feel like it releases a lot of stress hormone. And I used to love the runner's high.
Oh, really? That's funny. I wouldn't have pictured you to be a runner, but
yeah, I used to be a runner. That used to be my thing.
What kind of distances did you like?
I mean, I would just go for like a 3-mile run or something.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I wouldn't call that long distance at all.
No. I wouldn't run like I wasn't like a marathon runner. I mean, I could run a marathon back then, but I wasn't doing shit like that. Maybe at most like 10 miles or something. But like typical would just be like a 3-mile thing. But even that, I feel like, I don't know, a sprint feels way more efficient. Just do some back-to-back sprints. Obviously, it's a different type of thing. But I think it does, you get a big return with that, less risk for injury.
You take collagen before your workout?
I don't know if I got to do that more. I know, right? They say right before, right? You got to load the collagen before.
Yeah, it's like if you're on a full stomach, then you want to take it maybe an hour before. If you're on an empty stomach, you could take it 30 minutes before. But yeah, the notion is that your tendons, your ligaments, your fascial system, it's like not vascular in the way your muscles have blood flow. And so the way that it gets nutrients is you have to pump it mechanically, like they call it mechanical imbibition.
Right.
And
it
the
pulls
other cool thing
around it, right?
Yeah. The other cool thing about that is that, so if you just do some light, like it doesn't have to be heavy, but if you just do a little bit of mechanical pumping into like your target tissues that you're trying to heal, you can do that twice a day, and you increase protein synthesis in those tissues for like 6 to 8 hours. So you can do it twice, maximum maybe 3 times a day. And it's one of like the healing protocols, because you'll see all this stuff on Instagram and they're like, or the social media, they're like, yeah, man, just do static holds. It's amazing. Static holds are so good for your tissues. And it's like, well,
yeah, that's what I've been trying to.
It's not
my biggest injury is my elbow. I have like I guess it's tennis elbow or whatever. I don't play tennis, but it's from pull-ups. Yep. I just can't. Had it for years and years. I had it in both elbows because there was a time I was trying to do muscle ups, and I got it. I was able to do them, and then I injured both freaking elbows because I was drinking at the time. I wasn't like so I would like work out after a night of drinking, dehydrated, and I think that's what caused it. And I injured both elbows, and I've only gotten one to heal, and this other one, I can't do it. So I've been trying to do all the things you're saying, and
so you don't need to do like heavy static holds. What you would like my like ideal protocol for recovery on something like that would look like, say, 10 grams of collagen, and like in the morning, like when you get up, or within a few hours, and then you could do a static hold, that's fine, or you could just do like low loaded, and it doesn't need to be very long. We're talking like 10 to 15 seconds. You just want to have
blood flow.
A little bit. It's not blood flow, but it's mechanical squeezing effectively. And you just want to get a little bit of nutrient turnover in those tissues a couple times a day. And you can do this
it's
twice
pushing
a day.
The collagen into it, right? As you're
Basically, yeah, like effectively. I mean, it's also removing. So you've got inflammation there. So doing that, there's a squeezing action that like literally squeezes out the some of that inflammation and the metabolites, etc. And then once that releases, it sort of sucks in fresh nutrients, which would be the collagen. So you can, and again, you don't want to be like doing a bunch of pull-ups. You just want to like somewhere like 50 to maybe 70%. Just like you could do static hold, you could do anything. It could be like very slow rep where you're like assisted, you're not doing your full body weight. And you just, 10 seconds, right? Like 15, maybe 20 seconds. That's all you need for the next 8 hours. And then do that again at nighttime. You do that for, I don't know, say 4 weeks, 6 weeks, you'll probably get a lot of help there.
And dose collagen before each session?
Yeah, like 30 minutes before you do that little bit.
I can do it.
Yeah. And if you really want to go heavy, you could do like a full body kind of like light stretch out, light holds kind of thing. You could do it in the morning in the sun if you're like trying to really health max or whatever.
Yeah. I don't want to go down this road too much, but what do you think about peptides?
I've never experimented with them, but apparently they're really good. Like I think I've done some GHKCU, but that's all I've really tried with.
Yeah, the BP 157 or something is supposed to be really good for the tendons.
Yeah, I'd have to really. I've never dove into that aspect. I'm sure that
good for your whole digestive system too, like your intestines and whatnot. And
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the FDA doesn't like them, so that's probably a good place to start. That's at the danger of playing the opposite game.
I will do it. Maybe we get that looks maxer and on the show one of these days. He could tell us what we're doing wrong. Let's go ahead and run the price report. We'll jump into it. Obviously, another big day in price, or big week rather.
The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Exelix, privacy-first multi-chain swap aggregator designed for seamless instant swaps. Exchange XMR instantly with the fully non-custodial, KYC-free experience and secure execution across hundreds of blockchains.
All right. Let's see. I'm sharing my screen. I don't know if it's popped up yet. I feel like I lost you guys just now. Am I? You guys here with me still? All right. Well, I'm just going to keep going, pretend like everything's good. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I don't know if I'm in the show or not. It looks like YouTube seems to still be running. So,
buddy, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, very much looking forward to this. I've been following, it's been entertaining to follow price these days. With everything
how's your trading going?
Not too well. Not too well. I just should not be trading. I'm just looking for, I'm mostly in cash. I went in and out like a little bit. Worked out twice, didn't work out once. Overall, I'm kind of kicking myself because my long-term strategy was just to acquire some coin that I was just gonna, kind of try to ride up to the top and dump. And I do think there's still opportunity to get in. So looking forward to hearing what you're saying. I don't think the bottom's in yet with the market. I mean, ignoring the charts, just the macro with everything that's going on.
2 words for you. Buy Monero.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's already been done, right? This is just some fun, a fun stack that I'm playing with. But that I need. I can't afford to lose though. Yeah, it's money that I can't afford to lose, to be honest. I mean, I guess I could. It would hurt. But yeah, I mean, I do feel like there's at least another shoe to drop with the war and oil. Maybe an invasion happening soon, and that will be kind of the black swan event, although not really black swan because everybody sees it coming. But yeah, very curious to hear what you have to say about all that.
Yeah, they really are going hard, and I think I'm worried they might have killed our gold bull market. I feel like we kind of saw it just a little bit last week. We said, yeah, this is starting to get dicey, and then we had a big drop off in gold. So I'm slightly worried that was the top. Actually, I have to think about it some more. By the time I'm done thinking about it, probably gold will be back, fucking round trip. No, it won't be
Well,
that bad. But
what's interesting about gold, I feel that obviously the gold rally started whatever months ago before the Iran thing was publicly known, but it does feel like it very much was about that, right? The insiders stacking gold. So the fact that gold has since come down so much, does that show that there's a light at the end of the tunnel here with this war? Otherwise, I think you'd start to see it start to right pick up again. People may be like, "Oh, wait a minute, this is going to be a lot worse than we thought." That doesn't appear to be the case.
yeah, there's a lot of factors to weigh there. This war seems to serve multiple purposes. They're trying to distract from the Epstein files. They needed to pump oil. I think conveniently, it also has appeared to have capped the bull market in gold now. I don't know, fully what their real strategic goals are here. Obviously, it has nothing to do with nuclear weapons.
No.
But yeah, I guess. And I mean, it seems like it feels more and more like these guys have their backs up against a wall because people don't believe them anymore. And I don't think many people believe that the Iran war, like a lot of the MAGA people have left. You can see it in the polling. The Republicans are starting to get down. But the Democrats are absolute shit too. Like there's just no good options. They're going to keep trying. I mean, they're just going to keep playing their same playbook because I think that, we talk about maxing. I think they've psychology maxed. I think they have just about maxed what they can do with human psychology to trick people before people realize it. So I don't think there's too many cycles of them doing this flip-flop action, Republicans to Democrats, Coke to Pepsi. I don't think that they have much more they can do there. And I think people are starting to wise up a little bit. It's hard to say, there's a lot of retards out there. So it's like really hard to say. Let's see, we've got Rimsey's, we actually have two XMR chats from Rimsey. The first one, he tipped 6.7 Monero. He says, Bowdy, can I please get some TA on XLE Energy ETF? And then he tipped 0.1 Monero, and he says, Bowdy, can I please take some NAC, R-ALA, glycine, taurine, TMG, proline, lysine, creatine, citrulline, and beta-alanine. Bro, all of those things, I don't know every single one of them. I don't think I know the ALA, but or the TMG, but everything else is pretty good. Yeah, definitely.
I do NAC pretty often in the morning.
Yeah.
Creatine, obviously, although I haven't done it recently, but I'm going to get back into that.
You know what I found seems to help the glutathione system more than anything, and plus up your liver's capacity is it's just eating a lot of fruit, like just straight up eating 2, 3, 4 pieces of fruit every day. Seem to help.
Awesome. Yeah, get into it. Maybe I'll ask some questions after once you're done with Price.
Sure. Yeah, you can jump in anytime too. I know you got your family duties to take care of, but if you feel like jumping in anytime, just let me know. All right, starting with Monero, we've kind of just been trending sideways. This isn't terrible, but it definitely does have the feeling of some kind of bull flag right here. We can easily drop some lines that feel truthy. Let's connect that guy there. I think we drew this line. I guess maybe I didn't save the chart last week. But yeah, I mean, you can see that this is a rising wedge after a big fall off. At the same time, this feels kind of painted, sometimes these guys try to paint charts to make them look a certain way in the hopes that the traders will finish the job, right? Other times they paint charts believing that traders are gonna trade that way, and then they wreck the chart. In this case, my belief is that, my consistent belief, I think all of our consistent belief is that they try to manage the Monero price as much as they can. Sometimes that involves orchestrating a pump so that they can do what? So they can paint a bear flag, knowing that the rest of crypto is in a bear market. And so they want Monero to look the same. So it really helps when you pump the market, probably 2 to 3x over what it maybe should be. And then you can paint this bear flag here. Speculative on my part, but that's just the kind of stuff we've seen them do every dirty trick in the book. The crypto cabal is the deep state cabal at this point, and the exchanges, they're all in bed together. So is this bear flag going to play out? I don't actually think that this is going to be the type of bear flag that Bitcoin is undergoing. Maybe this is the kind of bear flag that sort of goes back to that wick low, right? So maybe 280, right? Maybe at some point if this breaks down, Monero goes to 280, or perhaps there is actually a lot of buying support and Monero's price is currently artificially too low. So I don't know if I really believe that. Who knows, right? Maybe Kraken is don't quote me on this. I'm just speculating. Maybe Kraken is like fractionally reserved, but they're not as bad as Binance, so they don't ever have to shut down withdrawals. Maybe they're only 50% fractionally reserved. I don't know, guys. I made that up right now, so please don't go post that on Twitter, right? Anyways, the point here is that maybe Monero's price is somewhere around ish where it should be. Who knows? If the rest of crypto market takes another little tumble, then Monero's probably going to take a tumble with it. But I really believe we will be limited in our downside here. I think that any tumbles in Monero are definitely buying opportunities. If we scroll back a little bit and we take a slightly broader view of the wave magic all the way back to the previous bull market, I want you to see these blue bands right here. You see these guys where I'm drawing that white line? These blue bands, these clusters, this is a really good spot for support to happen. So let's zoom back in a little bit and I'll show you why. So you'll notice that earlier in the year, that was a really good support that happened. This was also the place that we had to break out of. And these are rising bands right now. So this is still like a mildly positive bull market structure over long time frames, right? We're not talking like months. These are kind of years long bands here. So if things were to fall, the orange bands coincident with that wick low, coincident with the blue bands, so we're looking like 250 to 280, right? If you're looking for a bear market low on Monero, that would be my target, right? I would start buying at about 290, and then I would keep scaling in all the way down to about 250. I always like to keep a little bit of cash even after I've bought. I don't know. You just never know when shit goes weird, goes bad. So that's what I think, we're looking at for bear market lows on Monero, potentially. As far as the Monero versus Bitcoin price, this is a really interesting chart, like the way this is played out. The volatility continues to drop off. We continue just to trade sideways against Bitcoin. Kind of makes sense. Neither Monero nor Bitcoin have really shown a strong move one way or the other, right? We're pretty much most of crypto, except for a couple key retards. Most of crypto, except for a couple key retards, are basically trending sideways for the most part. So eventually that's going to blow to one side or the other, probably down first, then up. That would just be my speculation. So that's what Monero looks like. We could look at the Monero versus gold price. Monero has pumped a little bit. Obviously, that is because gold has taken a big tumble. That's 33%, 32% higher Monero price versus gold since Monerotopia, or really since the end of February, actually. So I don't know. We've looked at this chart quite a few times. It's kind of a boring chart in my mind. I don't really expect too much to happen on this chart, to change on this chart. Basically range bound, right? I believe this chart is likely to remain range bound for years, like probably potentially even all the way into 2030. So, all right, we're just going to check out these bands. These bands are going to slowly continue collapsing as these slowly continue rising, and you're going to see a few spikes like that, outside of the band structure. But I would really expect this kind of action to just continue for who knows how long, right? It could take some kind of fundamental event for this chart to change. And that could just be mass Monero adoption, right? It could just be Clavicular getting his followers into Monero. That and the rest of the red pill retards, maybe they'll make a less retarded decision and abandon their stupid surveillance bags and get into Monero. I actually definitely believe that a lot of those guys are already in Monero. You got Andrew Tate talking about Bitcoin. If he's out there talking about Bitcoin, he's got Monero and he just doesn't want to tell you about it. He's retarded, but he's actually kind of smart. So he's probably smart enough to squirrel away a little bit of funds in Monero just in case. And if he hasn't, then he truly is retarded, like actually retarded. All right, let's take a look at the privacy shitcoins. Xano has somehow managed to pump. I think this is a 2x, not quite 82% higher. Somehow Xano managed to pump 82%. I don't believe this. This is very difficult to believe that everybody just said, hey, let's buy Xano. No, maybe some like person got in here and bought it up. Maybe some of the exchanges or some of the people said, hey, let's pump it. Maybe it was Roger Ver. Who knows? I don't give a fuck. I can't find a way to believe in Xano, guys. Like personally, like as a project. Maybe it's all right, but I just don't see it, right? I just don't see it, like why the fundamental use case of this coin should exist. Kind of expected this thing to go lower. It's interesting that in no man's land, where the rest of crypto was sideways and or falling, Xano somehow managed to put in a low at where exactly? Like what exactly at this level? Why would this be the level for it to find support and then pump? That doesn't make any sense to me. And then, of course, it did it over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, right? Sorry, I just don't believe it. Which this kind of stuff in this, like, if this had happened amidst a bull market, right? If this had happened amidst where, a lot of positivity and, people are talking about it and, shit like that. Okay, I could believe it. I could believe that and say, all right, it's just the crypto degeneracy playing out in real time. But in this case right here, it makes no sense for Xano to pump at this moment when the chart looks like death. And it pumped at places that make no sense either. So it makes me now more suspicious of Xano and people who have their big bags of Xano and what kinds of things they might be doing. I don't know. Like, this just doesn't make any sense to me. Whatever. Like, I know some people are going to be upset with me for saying that I don't, that this makes me trust Xano less, but whatever. Like, just giving you free form thoughts off the top of my head here. Firo,
I do think maybe there was news about them getting added to Thorchain, or at least progress on that. I mean, if you had to give a narrative to why it may be pumping,
maybe that's it. Maybe they could claim that. Still seems 80% pump amidst the bear market whenever
I'm trying to get them added to Anon Bazaar, and it's been a process. I don't know. Yeah,
it could be.
Yeah.
That could be an explanation here. It's hard for me to think that that's enough. It's a lower market cap coin, so maybe.
I mean, everything did that. That is when everything kind of mini pumped, right? There was an altcoin pump that happened this week, or was it off on its own, doing it on its own?
Yeah, I'm not really seeing it, right? Like, I'm not seeing the pump here. Really, there was, like, I don't know, 6% overall on the crypto market cap in the past 7 days. Well, it round tripped though, right? In the past week, it's flat overall. I suppose that maybe if they got added to Thorchain and there was a big announcement, that could be the case. I haven't really been on social media, so maybe I just missed that.
Yeah, they haven't been added yet, but there's like a path towards being added. So I think that's perhaps
there's a path for Monero to be added to Thorchain as well. Did they do it actually? Did that ever happen for real?
Has Monero been added to Thorchain? No, that would be huge if it was. I think we would definitely see an effect in Monero.
How many times have they announced that they were going to add Monero to Thorchain? They've done it at least like 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah, they've been talking about it forever. They did add it to Vultsig, that Vultsig wallet, which is somewhat related to Thorchain. So once again, it does look like there's a path towards it happening. But for Xano, it's because they created these new address format for like exchanges. So that's why they think it's, they'll be able to easily be added to Thorchain. So
interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess they got some positive news there. All right. I guess we'll continue on here. Firo seems to have found maybe what could plausibly be a temporary bottom. The bottom of these orange bands do look like they've held some sort of support there. Okay. I'm not really a Firo trader. Wow, those are big movements, man. That's 18% in the past couple weeks after that wick down. Okay, I don't know. Not really huge on Firo. Pirate, nothing happened with Pirate. They're just flat now. I think they're trying to hang on to not round trip it back down to the orange bands, but you can bet that very likely Pirate Chain is going to fall off if the rest of crypto falls off, and we're probably not at the bottom yet. Cubic, unfortunately, seems to have put in some kind of big pump, right? So I don't know if they had news that caused their token to go up, but they are getting dangerously close to the level where they could start attacking Monero again, which is probably right around here, right? So around this level, they could probably have enough funds if they wanted to start selfish mining successfully to bribe the miners again. They need a high price of their Cubic token to bribe the miners, of which it only looks like maximum about 33% of the hash rate is able to be bribed. And a good amount of that, I think, was I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Data Hoarder. I can't remember. One of the devs and the XMR Dev Chats Matrix was talking about, they suspected that, Cubic would try and bribe the miners, and then to get their attack going, they would buy a bunch of hash power, whatever they could. to sort of like get a selfish mining probability going where they could attack the network. Anyway, so they do need a higher price, I think, to do that. They're not quite at those levels yet. If they start getting into this zone, that's where, I think we start getting a little bit concerned. And obviously, if they're up here, that's where they can actually really attack the network. So they said they're going to go attack Doge. Maybe they'll focus on Doge, but I don't believe that. I think that they were explicitly, very likely, an explicit attack on Monero through the bull market, which is, the last bull market, 2021. What did we see? We saw progressive fractional reserve, increasing fractional reserve on Binance into the very top of the market, and then it was, then it was withdrawal, shut down sporadically, randomly, significantly for the next 2 to 3 years. And so what did they do this time? Well, they did Cubic. They wanted to do the Cubic attack to make everyone scared of Monero, because again, they're always trying to cap our price. They didn't get it for free. So they don't want Monero to have a big price. And, they're all associated with the assholes, deep state, et cetera. All right, on we go. Mino Tari. Yeah, sorry, guys. Bro, Fluffy, this looks like shit. Like, I'm not even going to lie, man. At this point, like, this is worse than the hex chart, bro. Like, this is what happens, man. Like, Fluffy, this is like, you're a great guy. I like you. But, this is like a point of criticism for why you don't pre-mine and hand it to fucking celebrities, right? The action of this chart is why you should have just merged mine with Monero 100% from the very beginning. Let's see. Rimsey says Tari dead. Yup, dead. Like, I mean, from the top, look at this, guys. This is a 99.3% drop off. Just to give you a scale of how bad that is literally 142x down. Like, take whatever you had at the top and divide by 142. That's what you have left, right? So if you had $142,000 of Tari, you now have $142. You now have $1,000, right? So you would have gone from $142,000 to having just $1,000. That's fucking horrible.
That's insane.
Bro, Fluffy, you should have just launched the whole goddamn thing, merge mine with Monero, and this chart would look way different, extremely different. All right, whatever.
Why didn't he do that? I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't understand why he walked away from Monero to begin with to go build Tari. I never understood that. And initially Tari was kind of pitched at the first Monero Con. It was pitched as being like, a layer 2 for Monero. And then it became this VC funded,
layer 2 for Monero always felt more like marketing to me than like any real like truth there.
No, but when it first was talked about, that's literally, it was before he even knew what architecture he was going to be using, and then it slowly evolved into this.
Yeah, even when when it first came out, I never I couldn't really connect how exactly it was a layer 2.
Yeah,
a layer 2 means that you don't have an extra token. You're leveraging the original token into some other cryptographic construction. But I never could.
No, but when it first was being discussed, there wasn't even necessarily a token. I'm talking about when it was first mentioned. At least that's how I remember it. It was at the first MoneroCon in Denver.
I mean, he said that, but I never saw like an actual mechanism that would make it layer 2. Like, I know that's what he said, but I was like, well, how? Like, what do you mean exactly? Like, we don't have payment channel networks, right? We can't do payment channels. So what exactly are you talking about? I don't know. Yeah. It's a shame. I pretty much have to write off.
But for him, like I just don't understand the mind, right? Because Monero was gaining traction at that time, right? It was becoming the private version of Bitcoin, and like there was so much more work that needed to be done. Why walk away from the project at that time, even to go build this thing when you were like? I just can't from his perspective. I just find it hard to believe, because I mean he was. Obviously he's not the Satoshi Nakamoto of Monero, but he was very early and he was a big part of it, and he really helped, get it off the ground in the early days. It seemed like an odd time to walk away when it was like it was working, I was excited about it at that time, like, oh my God, and obviously it's paid off, right? Since then it's really has grown, adoption has grown. And there's a lot of things from the technological standpoint that Monero needed from that, right? Like here we are implementing full chain membership proofs. To go work on Tari, I don't know. I always question that, and then
he
I
wasn't
always
really-
give him my support because he's fluffy and everything he's done for Monero, and still I hope Tari does work out, and for his sake and for the sake of the people that are involved in it. But it just seemed like there was so much potential at that time with Monero, and there was, and that's been proven to be the case. And I feel like he would have known that better than anybody else. I just thought it was weird that he moved on to this, right?
Well, he wasn't a dev, right? Like he was a maintainer. He would do merges.
He was maintaining the whole project.
So the stuff like this, the hard work that had to be done on Monero involved some pretty like deep cryptographic development, and in addition to RandomX. So I don't,
yeah, he wanted to be creative and build
left.
something new, and I can't fault him for that, right? He was excited about the concept of basically a private version of Ethereum, right? An Ethereum competitor that's default private. If you really zoom out, that's kind of what I see Tari as ultimately being. And I guess he didn't see Monero as being capable of fulfilling that, or not even that it wasn't capable, that he didn't want to tarnish Monero. And, Monero was focused on being just purely digital cash. So he didn't want to start trying to turn it into something beyond that, at the risk of hurting its ability to be digital cash. So that I do get. And he wanted to build that. And he went off and did it. Maybe it does. Maybe now that it's completely crashed out, it can rebuild up from the ground up. What do you think? You think there's a case to be made that Tari can make a comeback?
Yeah, I mean, anything could happen, right?
I mean, now he's stepped away from Tari even because of whatever personal things. So that's the big issue. Right? They're not heads down working. I mean, obviously there's people working on it, but Fluffy's not a part of that right now.
Yeah, maybe that's related to the recent drop off. It did look like
definitely.
It did look like Tari might be trying to make a bottoming pattern. I actually did. So right here, that started to look a little bit like a bottoming pattern, and I might have actually tried to pick up a little bit of Tari there, but gonna write that off. It's already down like 70%. It seems to me that like there probably wasn't much more work for Rick to do on like just in general in Monero. There probably wasn't a whole lot more for him to do. New people had come in, new developers had come in, and the project was in good hands. So I can see why he would step away from Monero to try and do something else. There might not have been a whole lot more for him to do. And it was also like there's kind of a problem too where people kept trying to be like pretend that Monero was Ricardo. Like that's just not true. So I think that was also a wise decision to like force like bring that to a head and force people to stop saying that, because ultimately that wouldn't serve the project if that was the case. So. But yeah, Tari, yeah.
And the thing with Tari, did the layer 2 ever launch?
No clue.
And that's where all the magic was. That's where you were able to do all these smart contract things. I don't think that aspect ever even launched yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this will come back. Who knows? It seems like this drop off was somewhat associated to Fluffy saying that he's got to go peace out to do some personal stuff. All right, I guess it is what it is. Zcash somehow managing to hang on here. This looks supported, but I think we have to anticipate that the cabal is probably going to try to keep Zcash pumped as much as they can. They're probably going to try and prevent it from round tripping. I bet they succeed at doing that. And then they're gonna use Zcash again round 2 whenever the next bull market comes. They're gonna try and distract market cap away from Monero and into Zcash and all of their all of that crap, whatever. But for the meantime, don't expect this is the bottom for Zcash either. It shouldn't be. It looks like a fake bottom to me, right? This thing at the moment, this is actually forming kind of this descending triangle, which they tend to break down. So maybe this thing kind of does this, and then the bottom falls out. That'll probably happen alongside the Bitcoin next fall off whenever that happens. So yeah, that's Zcash. This one's kind of funny actually. So here's the Z scores, 100-day Z scores. Tron, for whatever reason, is pumping bigly. Maybe this is because a lot of the Eastern Bloc, Southeast Asia, Russia, etc., likes to use Tether on Tron. Maybe there's no relation there. I don't know. But at any rate, Tron is the only one that's actually doing anything good right now. I was looking at this earlier. Let's see. Yeah, holy shit. No kidding. I mean, that's the long-term chart. We're on the weekly. Let's go to the daily. So Tron, like, if you see this on the weekly, Tron is crushing it. Let's make sure we're on the right chart here. Crypto, TRX USD. Yeah, we're on the right chart. So Tron is like actually not too far off all-time highs, which is crazy work to me. What is that? It's 20% off its all-time highs. All right, Justin Sun, you know, I guess he's doing pretty good here. Can't believe that guy's not in jail. There's another sign to you of just how compromised the whole ecosystem is. Justin Sun should be in fucking prison, along with CZ. I don't know what this chart, how this actually feels. You know what? I don't want to convince you guys to go get into Tron, so we're just going to shut up right here. I think Justin Sun holds like the supply of Tron, says Remsey. Probably that would make a lot of sense. All right, let's just look at Bitcoin then. So as we've talked about for a while, it does seem like Bitcoin is probably going to take a tumble here eventually. This looks a lot like a bear flag, and it's exactly the same kind of pattern that we saw in the other bear market. The other bear market 2022. Maybe we don't need to go back all the way. I've shown you guys this like 5 times already, but just in case anyone new here's on the show, effectively, it feels like we're at the same spot of May and June of 2022. Everything about the entire pattern that developed on the bull market and bear market has been basically the same as the 2021 and 2022 markets. So at some point, it's going to diverge significantly. I just don't think we're there yet. Probably the bottom will look a little bit different than the bottom did at the end of 2022. That probably won't be the same. But at any rate, yeah, this thing, you know, expect this thing to eventually break down, and we're probably going for that 50,000. That's really the target. Maybe 55, right? I would start scaling in probably at 55 all the way down to 50. I don't know, maybe 45. I feel like, all right, I'll do it live on air. I'm going to commit to running the lower regression analysis, adding in the one thing, like the one piece that I need to make it, like, to fix the one thing that I think is incorrect about it. It shouldn't influence it too much, but I can't be super confident of where this line is until I do that. So I did redo this line along the same lines that I had done the previous analysis, but it has the same error in it. So I have to correct that error. And then when I do that, maybe I'll be more confident. I don't know. I actually think that the Bitcoin regression analysis is now in danger of breakdown territory. That doesn't mean I think we're necessarily going to go lower than the green line, but obviously the upper boundary didn't even get close to being hit. And I don't think we're ever going to hit it again. Like I don't expect the upper boundary to ever get hit. So anyways, yeah, Bitcoin price not looking good here. I wouldn't be getting long. Who knows? I can always be wrong. It's easy to be wrong while you're trading. Personally, I wouldn't get long this shit. Doesn't look good. Dominance. So dominance, like we talked about for the past few weeks, this looks like a holding pattern. The volatility is dropping off. These bands right here, these standard deviation bands, expect the dominance to just kind of ride in between those bands. At some point that will break. I don't know which way, if it's going to break low or high. But shitcoins, altcoins, everything looks dubious. Everything does. I don't know. It's a lot of coins are going to have to die here because the hype for crypto is gone. It went into AI. At this point now, maybe it's going into oil. But yeah, maybe Bitcoin dominance actually is going to go up. I don't know. Again, I know people here hate Ethereum, but Ethereum is like 10x better than Bitcoin, 100x better than Bitcoin. The Bitcoiners are scrambling for the past 3 years, ever since ordinals came out, to try and do like even just 5% of what Ethereum has been doing for years. Ethereum has better privacy than Bitcoin. They have Tornado Cash, and it's legal now. Like the OFAC shit is done. It's over. So like Bitcoin shouldn't have this market cap. It should flip places with Ethereum. Like in a rational world, Ethereum would have Bitcoin's market cap, and Bitcoin would have Ethereum's market cap. But it's not a rational world. Probably never will be. Let's look at the macro. Let's see what's going on with the macro. So starting with the dollar index, this thing, I'm surprised almost that it didn't even go higher. But this thing,
body
what's up, bro?
don't forget to do the XLE Energy ETF for RIMC.
Yeah, we're on the macro. Thank you for the reminder. When we get to stocks, and if I don't get to it after we get to stocks or right around the same time we're getting to stocks, then let me know again, please.
Okay.
Thank you for keeping me honest. Okay, so yeah, the dollar index, it's experiencing some resistance here, and I almost would have thought that this would have shot a little bit higher, but it is looking good, and of course it's looking good. Why? Because it's not just the dollar index, it's the petrodollar index. And U.S. oil has been going crazy. Obviously, they closed the Straits of Hormuz, and like the U.S. government knew that Iran was going to do that, and they knew that this was going to push the price of oil higher. And as we've talked about since forever, it's the oil price that is required. Like they have to maintain the oil price in the sort of Goldilocks range, or above it. You know, above it is better than being below it, because macro crashes happen when oil is showing weakness. And like that makes a lot of sense if you think about it, because again, the petrodollar is like the primary unit of account of the global monetary system. And yes, like countries are slowly figuring out how to do bilateral agreements, but the dollar is still king. Like it's still the fucking top of the food chain. Everyone still uses the dollar for their central bank reserves, because no government wants to open up their economy in the way that you have to do to become the reserve currency of the world. So nobody wants to replace the dollar as the reserve currency of the world. So yes, they needed to do Iran, as we've talked about so many times. They did Venezuela, right, to sort of like prevent China from getting oil and to sort of like boost the price of oil, counterintuitively, because everyone thought, oh, now we have access to Venezuela oil, the price is going to go down, and it did not. That the prediction here was that it would actually go up, which it did. Then they invaded, then they started attacking Iran, and now oil is really high. And they probably also did that to steal the thunder from our gold bull market, right? We talked about, we kind of caught this at the very last second last week. We said, yeah, this is looking bad. And the dynamics of what's happening is that money moves, right? We said money doesn't go to money heaven. It moves somewhere, or money hell. It moves somewhere else. And obviously the play here was oil. Like you start attacking Iran, they close the Straits of Hormuz. Obviously, you're going to go into oil. So that's what big money did. And you can even see they didn't go into bonds. Let's go look at bonds here really quick. Big money did not go into bonds. You can see that bonds are effectively stable. Nothing has happened with bonds, and nothing ever happens with bonds. So this is like day 999 of nothing happening in bonds. So if this chart starts to move violently, then we will know that money is actually moving somewhere. The charts look macro crashy, but none of the macro actually looks macro crashy, which is kind of funny. So like when I say that, I mean like the stock market looks bad. Like this drop off is starting to look pretty bad. It's not like terrible as a percentage. It's only 7%, but it's breaking trends. And in fact, if we go back, you can see that this primary trend line that we've had for a while now. Let's go to the weekly, because it's actually hard to see that one. Wait a second. No way. Okay. Wow. Okay. This trend line right here, this guy, this is the one that we've talked about since forever, that goes all the way back to the 1929 blow off top. Right. They did the Federal Reserve in 1913. Things kind of chopped sideways. They blew the first major bubble in the stock market. And then they did it again with .com. You connect those lines right there, and that's what this guy is right here. So just for your reference when you're looking at this chart, sometimes I forget which lines are which. The danger of pipelines. So we're already back at this line. This should be a strong support. We are not the only ones to see this line, right? Everybody knows about this fucking line. So this might act as a support right here. And if we reverse off of that, if the stock market reverses off of that, then okay. That could be like, in general, risk on, risk positive. Maybe crypto can like catch some wind from that. But there's no reason that this line has to hold. In terms of like statistical levels, wave magic, there's this lower cluster right here, and that wouldn't even be macro crash territory. That would be just like, that wouldn't even be bear market territory. That's only 16% down off the all-time high for the S&P. So both of these levels are reasonable places that could be hit. I think the difference will be made in whether or not the Iran war escalates and or expands to other countries. It seems like this entire fall off has been associated with the Iran war. Right now, that's just like a correlation thing, right? So I'm not giving you like a super great mechanism. But again, money moving into oil. The only thing is that if money is moving into oil, it should also be moving into the oil industry, which should be it should help to keep the stock market like levitated, which it doesn't seem to be. So you know what? I need to make a note here about looking at the commodities. I don't know which commodities index is good to look at for fucking everything. If anyone has an idea of a commodities index we should look at like right now, sing out in the comments somewhere, and we'll pull that chart up. But because gold is just one commodity. We need, and oil is just one commodity. We need to look at all of them. So I will try to bring that to you guys next week because that might be revealing. Maybe we'll try and find it live on air here at the end of the price report. Okay, so stock markets, I don't like the way they look. It's probably not like good news. There's a bunch of lines here, right? There's a bunch of standard deviation clusters. Maybe that could be a spot. Maybe that could be a spot. Or again, maybe it's this spot right here. So I don't really have any strong opinions about like where this thing finds support. Rimsey, fucking Johnny on the spot. DBC commodities ETF. Let's take a look at that. We don't need to look at NVIDIA right now. Let's just go to DBC commodities. And then, bro, we'll look at your, we'll look at the, if I get spell commodities, DBC commodities index. I see Nitty commodities index. What the fuck? Do you have like an actual ticker, bro? Like, is it just DBC? Yeah, that's it. Okay. I just had to type in DB. Oh shit, please. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So that's a big fucking movement. 30% up. Yeah. So here's what's happening. Obviously, what's happening is the big money is flowing into commodities, and risk is suffering as a result. So if you're a trader and you want to make like, quick move best decisions, you really can't be relying on me, once a week to tell you what to do. You've got to be on the ball when news hits midweek, especially if you're like a short-term trader. The idea then being is that if the war expands, commodities go higher, risk falls. If the war contracts, if the straits open, if they stop bombing, if they declare some truce or peace treaty or whatever, then expect all of this to reverse, gold to go positive again, commodities, ironically, commodities to fall. So it's kind of funny. This is like, you know what we could do actually? You know what would be interesting? We could look at DBC. We'll look at gold divided by DBC and see. Yeah, so this is interesting. It's basically gold fell off while the rest of the commodities pumped, which is definitely an interesting development. And the reason, of course, is that gold is a monetary commodity. All of the other commodities are just like regular commodities. They're usually something along the lines of consumables. And that includes silver. But the pump that was happening in silver was monetary related, not commodities related. Actually, let's take a look at silver. Maybe it held up better. I don't know if it held up better. No, it did not. Yeah, so I guess silver currently is trading as a commodity. Or sorry, as a monetary commodity, not like a consumable commodity. Yeah, so I don't know, guys. I don't know what to tell you. They might have capped our bull market in gold. If they continue this war, if they continue doing what they're doing, it's very, very plausible that the gold bull market is, maybe that was the top. That could be the top. Like we talked about before, things were statistically just way the fuck out of trend. Actually, let's clear the chart and I'll show you again. We haven't looked at this one in a few weeks. So this purple line has usually been quite good. This top purple line has usually been quite good in times past. And on most charts, this purple line is pretty good at telling you where the top is. And then the gold chart just blew past it completely. So what we were saying here is that fundamentally something had changed, right? When statistics break, that means something is fundamentally different in the market. And so that's what we were believing, is that something fundamentally had changed here. If that's the case, then maybe they can't delay the inevitable. Perhaps gold has to continue going higher. If it does, my guess is that this is going to take some time. Like, this is going to take months to recover. Let's go to the daily. This is likely going to take months before this chart can actually recover back to all-time highs. Yes, I'm crying. Yes, I'm sad. I was really hoping for a little bit more, and then maybe moving into real estate. Maybe I'll just spend cash on real estate, spend my cash position to get there. I'll have to try and look at real estate at some point here and, see where that's going. Real estate moves slow, so you really have a lot of time. Okay, oil, the price of oil, we're being a little bit schizophrenic, but that's fine. We're just trying to get a feel for, like, how does the macro work in concert? How is everything playing off of each other? Hopefully I'm painting a good enough picture and not just rambling too much. At this moment, oil is kind of at resistance, but it's so volatile that, like, this entire area is resistant. So I don't think we can't really confidently say exactly, like, where the top in this oil market's going to be. You can see that things gapped up. So one thing that happens when you gap up at the open of a week or a day, there's kind of this rule, a quote unquote rule, that you have to close that gap. So you'll notice that it gapped up, fell, and then came back, and then even peaked out there. So this gap has technically been closed. So if you're a gap trader, like, That's been closed. It's no good for you. I have no fucking idea if this chart's going to go higher or lower, guys. It probably, everything just depends on what the bombastic commander-in-chief is going to tell everybody over the coming weeks. I honestly haven't been paying attention to him. It's kind of like just disgusting to watch him. All right, let's go to Rimsey's. He asked us to take a look at which was it? XLE Energy. Yeah, so let's take a look at XLE. New York Stock Exchange. Yeah, so XLE Energy going higher, right? That's kind of what you would expect, right? You would expect XLE. You would expect Energy's indices to go higher. What's interesting about this chart is that it is busting through some of the standard deviation levels. We need to let's add the full one so we can get our purple lines. The purple lines are acceleration metric. They kind of tell us, they give you a good idea. It's funny. This chart did kind of tell you that it was ready to go, right? This chart, like just if you didn't even know what this was or any of the fundamentals, this chart was like very bullish. It's set up bullish for like the past few years, right? All of this action right here, consolidating in the upper standard deviation bands, being strong. Even as oil was falling, right? Even as the price of oil was showing problems last year. Yeah, okay, it fell a little bit, but even as oil was showing problems, it actually maintained reasonably good strength at the very top of that energy index. So it's really unsurprising that it pumped there. Let's go to a shorter time frame and see if we can give you something about the near term, right? On the TA on the near term. This is real-time TA here. This chart looks pretty damn good. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I would buy. Like, I hate buying things that have already gone up so much. There's an attempt at drawing a pleb line. Let's see. So the chart is clearly above the midterm purple bands, right? Again, acceleration metric. Everything is curving up now. Everything is going to start to curl up more. That's bullish. This thing only just recently broke out, and it has now established this set of purple bands right there. And usually charts will tend to ride that kind of purple band. So this thing could continue going higher, and that might even give us a little bit of corroboration. So thank you, Rimsey, for pointing this out. Very good contributions this morning. I really appreciate you asking for these things, because that is helping us over here with the price of oil to say probably this thing has higher to go. This thing's probably not done, right? We're going to see higher prices up here. Maybe this is a good line. I don't know. Historically, when oil goes, it likes to go to the 130 area, right? So back here, that was like 125. If we go further back, that's going to be, I think, 150. Is that 150? 140? Yeah, 147. Yeah, so oil definitely looks like it's probably not done pumping. And if oil is not done pumping, gold is not done having problems. So that's just kind of that's the space we're dealing with here, guys. Kind of sucks because gold is down. Crypto is probably not done falling all the way. Stocks aren't even doing good. The only thing that you're going to get apparently is energy. You're going to get energy and oil. So I guess that's the play here for some period of time. I don't think that's over. It seems like they've decided to make this a more long-term thing, the Iran war. So I wouldn't expect that to change yet. Maybe they'll find a way to put a close to this, because here's the other thing. They don't want the price of oil to rise too high, right? If the price of oil goes too high, a lot of other bad shit happens as well on that back end. Suddenly it becomes difficult for companies to turn a profit because of, transportation. And obviously, energy costs being high is going to cause high inflation, all of that stuff. So, and then of course, here's the last thing we probably need to talk about on the macro. J-Pow and the gang and the crew, they decided that they were going to keep interest rates steady. They weren't going to lower them. They all basically said they want to lower them one more time. They talked about Iran. Obviously, they talked about Iran and the oil and the prices and the inflation. So they didn't lower rates because they said they're scared of inflation because energy is higher now. So I guess that's not too it's not too surprising. Supposedly we'll get a rate cut later this year. That's also probably a big reason why the bonds have not gone down, right? Because J-Pow decided not to lower those rates. It doesn't feel macro crashy yet, guys, but this bond chart is starting to get long in the tooth, right? These so let's go to the weekly so you can see what I mean. You'll notice obviously there's this pattern of bond, rates come down because they're trying to save the economy, and then they slowly raise rates into a rising stock market. They start lowering rates, the stock market still rises, and then everything falls off a cliff. They have to lower the rates again to save the market. It's the cyclical pattern of crash, right? Crash and burn, followed by recovery. And at the moment, So same thing happened here for the C word back in 2020 when the economy caught a cold, when the world caught a cold, and then obviously .com, same kind of pattern, things fall off. So what I'm saying is that they've raised the rates. It's still high. This is long in the tooth, guys. Like, this is very long in the tooth for a rate raising cycle before the next calamity happens. This is definitely, let's see, what is that, 207 bars? Let's go back to the 2008 crash. Yeah, 170 bars. So yeah, this is longer. Like, this is definitely a longer kind of, it's at least as long. No, it's longer. It's definitely longer than any of the other cycles here. So I don't know. They learn, right? The machine is learning to how to do these cycles better, how to extend and pretend. Don't expect these cycles to ever stop. They have fine-tuned their process, and this thing is just gonna fucking eventually it's gonna crash off. But when, I don't know. We're still looking for signs. I'm not even quite sure to look at anymore, guys. Like, we are with the gold chart doing what it did. Like, gold is still fundamentally out of statistical trend. So I do believe that things are different. If you have any ideas, sing out. I don't do too much trading. I like to keep cash. Maybe if this thing falls far enough, on the risk on a crypto, then I'll just put some cash into crypto. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to sit tight, in my positions and be happy. But I will not eat the bugs. Okay, that's kind of random. Let's look at the Monero hash rate. Nothing has changed. Still flat. Sitting here at about 5.5 gigas, somewhere near 6 gigas. The transactions are above 25,000. We've actually maintained above 25,000 for really basically an entire month, right? So that's pretty good. Let's go to the year and see if it wouldn't. Maybe it is the first time. It's not the first time, but this was also the black marble. It's not that one. Yeah, this is the black marble attack where we did maintain transactions above 25 for about a month, but that one doesn't count. The most recent action above 25 would have been, I guess, last year, right around here. So let's take a look at this. Let me slow down. From April 30th to no. So this really is one of the longest periods of time that we've had above 25,000 transactions for the period of a month. If this thing continues for another month or so, like, that's beautiful, guys. That means we actually have real adoption. Let's maybe this one also. What is that? January. That was this year, January 1st, January 22nd. No, that wasn't quite a month. But that was a nice. So overall, guys, this chart, I like this. Like, I mean, I don't like it as much as we could like it. This chart isn't as lovable as we might want it to be. But you can still see that, like, there is a consistent higher lows thing happening with this chart. So, perhaps Clavicular will get, a few 100,000 more people into Monero. Who knows, right? If the red pill bros fucking show up into Monero, all you really need is Andrew Tate to say Monero and start shilling it, for that to happen. But it's hard for me to believe that guy's really outside the matrix at this point. Like, it's extremely difficult to believe that. He's probably, I always had the sense that guy wanted to join the Illuminati, and I think he probably succeeded. Because I've been kind of watching some of his shit. Because he has some funny shit to say. Like I said, he could have been a comedian. But the thing was, he always seemed like he wanted to be the Illuminati, not that he wanted to beat the Illuminati. So, anyways, I think that's about all I got for you guys. I think we've covered basically everything that we could cover that needs to be covered. Sorry about gold, but there'll probably be some rebound reaction bounce here at some point. Like, nothing goes down in a straight line. But this is a pretty bad fall off. Like, gold has not seen this bad of a fall off for, like, I don't know, 2 years now. So maybe you could try and look on a short-term chart and find some place to take a gamble, go long short-term. Maybe that place is like 4,100. This chart looks awful. This chart now looks pretty bad on the short term, at least. So, all right, that's all I got for you guys. Doug, you can come back and take it away. Bueller.
Do we have our guest backstage?
We just had a XMR chat from Kev. He's at 0.1 Millinero, and he says, "Can you look at NVIDIA?" Yes, we can. Actually, we had it pulled up here a second ago. NVDA. Yeah, maybe the AI hype is over as well. Maybe it's over for NVIDIA too. I I would like to say, if I was trying to be Nvidia bullish, then I would say, hey, this is the spot, right? That's the spot to look for the bounce. Maybe there could be a reaction bounce here. The stock market has fallen a good ways, so we could be looking for an interim bounce somewhere here. In fact, realistically, this probably is a good spot, guys. Like this line, and we might have already hit it. Like that might have already been the low, but this would be a good spot to look for like an interim bounce and maybe a return to like those upper standard deviation levels before perhaps some further breakdown. So, but at the same time, I'm not sure how much I believe in Nvidia. Like the AI craze has to pull back at some point, or maybe it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, so if Nvidia was going to keep blowing higher, like these are the bands that you really wanted to follow. Like at this point, you really wanted to end up here. So it kind of looks like Nvidia might also be falling off here for some period of months, maybe probably years. Then again, they are a defense stock, and the government demands that they make. Oh, they demand the AI companies make the weapons, and they need the RAM, and they need the GPUs, and they're not going to stop. Like the promise of what's happening here is pretty big, so I don't think they're going to stop. And if they really want to, they're just going to print more money into this shit. So I don't really have an opinion, but overall, long term, this chart should go up. But again, this is the same chart as the fucking S&P and the Nasdaq. There are these lower standard deviation clusters, and that is not an unreasonable spot to hit and then bounce. Maybe they need to do another like mini crash. Maybe they're not going to go full macro crash. They're just going to do a mini crash like they did last year. Maybe that's how they're going to manage shit. I don't know. That's speculation. So, all right, we do have another XMR chat from Zaman. He tipped $1 million. He says, thank you all for bringing the show to us every week. Remember, people, the real value is in the work we do, not in the petrodollar. I'm going to say that again because that's a good statement. Remember, people, the real value is in the work we do, not in the petrodollar. That's extremely true. None of the stuff that we have here is going to be all that useful for us if we don't have freedom money. So thanks for the XMR chat, Zaman. Very much appreciated. Okay, Doug. Doug
awesome, man. So, Bawdy, let me ask. I think I pretty much ask this question all the time. So, do you think the next leg down is, if it is to happen, if the bottom is not yet in for Bitcoin and crypto in general, you think the next leg down would be sooner than later, or it's going to be a drawn out process?
The patterns that I've noticed over the years is that, well, the 4-year cycle, right? So if we're going to go on the 4-ish year cycle, then we should be expecting a low at the end of the summer. Like, I don't know, let's just say somewhere between July and October. That's where we should be looking for a bottom. It would feel weird, for this thing to crash down right now. Maybe, I don't know. I honestly, short term, I don't have an opinion. I just don't think the low is in. Maybe Bitcoin can find a way to make it a little bit higher here. Because again, the stock market, and they haven't been that correlated lately, but the stock market does feel like it wants to be slightly bouncy right here, right? There's kind of that support coming up. Probably next week, we're going to get a little bit of stock market bounce, or maybe the next 2 weeks. Maybe Bitcoin can go along with that, right? They want to give the plebs some hope. That would make a lot of sense to give the plebs some hope. And break from the perfect pattern that we sort of have occupied of, the previous bull and bear market. So that's a long-winded way of saying it would feel weird for Bitcoin to just fall and bottom right here over the next few weeks. I feel like it's got to be more drawn out than that. Just intuitively, it feels that way.
Yeah. I mean, ignoring the charts, just, the narrative and everything that's going on. In my mind, it feels like the next shoe is going to drop soon. Trump is going to invade. He's going to invade Karg Island or whatever. We're going to wake up to, mission accomplished. We've taken over Karg Island, or we're. I think it's going to be a maybe a quick moment. This panic moment of, all right, we're now boots on the ground. Market crashes, and then Trump tries to save it by saying, no, this is a good thing. We've taken over the island. We've secured it. Actually, it's the Iran thing is over now. It's old news. I don't know. I could see something like that happening and happening soon. Would that just be the beginning of a much deeper issue and more down? I don't know, but I feel like what Trump is trying to do end this war at some point soon, sooner than later. But there's also going to need to be another shoe to drop for him to be able to do it. Like he needs to take over that island. And I feel like that could be the moment where we see the market drop out and then maybe bounce back up. I don't know. It's obviously the narrative I'm making up in my mind, but that's where like it feels like things are headed.
It makes sense to kind of make up narratives like that because at the moment they have narratived the fuck out of these markets. Like that's basically what has driven the major movements in these markets. It's the narratives that they presented, and that's been the case now for the past about a year and a half. So, and it
first
seems
it was
to be
all the
more
tariff
so the case
stuff
than before.
Right. First it was all the tariff stuff. Now it's Iran, and they're really just manipulating the markets. And you could tell Trump is just trying to prevent the markets from really dropping out. Any moment he can, when things start to feel like they're getting bad, they step in, be like, "Oh, don't worry, we're releasing all these barrels of oil," or "Don't worry, we're taking the sanctions off Iran so they could sell oil to these people." And it's always at these moments when like the market is, I feel like, really like about to dump out of fear, and it's like being controlled, like it's a controlled fall, but it feels like they want it or need it to drop one more time for them to complete their mission, and then things would rally back. I don't know. Maybe it's too simple, but I don't know. Things end up being in Trump land. It really does end up being as simple as just like figuring out where Trump is heading. It really feels like he controls the markets.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's Trump and his buddies, his gang, the cabal, the deep state. They're all in cahoots together.
Like even yesterday, the markets were, oil was going up, markets were going down. And then he was interviewed, like getting on he was about to head to Mar-a-Lago, and it was at like 3:40. I'm listening to it on Bloomberg. It was like 20 minutes before the markets close, right? How convenient, right? Like on a Friday, right before the market's going to close. And it's like, "Oh, I'm ready to say some things," right? And at that point, he says like, "Well, I don't really see why we would need to want to do a ceasefire. We're just winning, right?" So like that doesn't sound too good that you don't want to do a ceasefire. So it kind of ends the day on bad news. Market closes, and then an hour later, he sends out a tweet basically saying like, we're gonna finish this thing up real quick. It's basically done already. And then what do you have? Markets like start to pump back up after the market closed, like pure manipulation, right? Like faking one direction at one moment right before markets close. Markets close, now the weekend, completely changing direction. So like you can't catch up to it until Monday. Obviously in crypto, we see crypto respond right away, and I think that's what you've been seeing with Bitcoin. I mean, it even started to kind of like creep back up on that kind of good news that things would get wrapped up quickly. But in my mind, it feels like he's just slowing down the fall, and that there is going to be a big moment where it's like, all right, now we're invading, and markets will respond violently, and I think ultimately bounce. But that's, I don't know. Maybe
anything could happen. The one thing I can like confidently say is that they are going to go back and forth, flip flop, up and down, left, right, sideways, and in circles, and they're to find every way they can to jack these markets through its way around. They're going to take the poly market bets.
Yeah.
They're going to resolve it eventually, but not until they've extracted as much as they can.
Yeah. All right, Bawdy, thank you so much. I see we already got Joe up here. Joe, what's going on, man?
Hey, how we doing, Doug?
Good.
Are you okay? Everything's good?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, good. Because it's like, you spend all this money on this equipment, and then, of course, you try to test it out, and it's like, you got to do 20 different things and mess with the gain and all this stuff. And,
tell me about it, bro. I've been messing with it for like 5 years, and I still haven't. Your audio's already better than mine. You've been doing it for 5 minutes.
Yeah, this is not complicated. I mean, I got like an SM7B and the Scarlet Solo or whatever. It's about as vanilla as it gets, pretty much. But when it works, it seems to work all right. But anyway.
Quadrio Chillette is saying audio just out of one ear for me, Joe.
Oh, no, not that audio out of one ear. I switched it to stereo on the what's it called? The StreamYard. So it says stereo, but no guarantees, I guess.
You sound great for me. Although I am deaf in one ear, so maybe it's just coming in on the ear that I'm not deaf in. So it just sounds fine.
You never know. That's entirely possible. I'm sure we could remix it too. But
all right, actually let's run the guest segment. Bawdy, thank you, man. Stick around if you can. If you want to jump in and ask Joe some questions. But let's go ahead and run the guest segment officially now that we have Joe up here.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
All right, now it's official. Now you're officially a special guest at Monerotopia, man. You've arrived.
That's the official introduction. Yeah, cool, good stuff.
Thanks for coming on today, man. I've seen some of your stuff on X. I'm like, who is this guy? I saw you starting to tweet. I don't know how long ago. Maybe I don't even know timeline, but that you were starting to work on this Monero 1 project. And it looks like you stuck with it and you actually got it off the ground, launched something.
Yeah.
Tell us all about it. I guess if you want to first give a little intro about yourself. Sure. I mean, we don't, we could do a separate Monero talk, by the way, at some point and really go in the weeds. But yeah, give us who is Joe IO.
Yeah, well, a couple things you said. Yeah, so I appreciate you having me on, and this is the I guess this is the Topia, right? And then you also do the Monero talk, which is I guess different but the same, right?
Yeah, the Monero talk is more of like a Joe Rogan style. We chat for like 2 hours,
Right.
This is a community show. We have all these different segments on here, and we end with viewers on stage so people could come up. So we could even do that today if you could stick around because people might want to ask you some questions directly. But
that's fine. I'm happy. I get them all the time, on X, and I try to respond to everybody. I think I've mostly responded to everybody up until this point. But so I'll give the little spiel about my background a little bit and how this sort of kind of all got off the ground. So I've been a developer for probably about 7 years now or so. I work a traditional W-2 job like most people, right? And I've been involved with Monero for probably since 2017 on and off. And then more recently within the last few years as privacy has started to go more mainstream, right? I was talking to somebody about this yesterday as well, which is that like Signal was not a popular thing with regular people until like a couple of years ago, all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And I think you're starting to see people starting to care about, privacy now. You got guys like Techlore on YouTube, right? He's gotten very big over the years, and Cake as well, and Monero in general. You've seen this, in a year-over-year basis right now. We're still up, 100% or something like that, just since last year when it was about $200, and now we're at like $350. Obviously, there's been some more volatility recently as well. But that signals to you how many people are actually moving into this, true money that's, actually fungible, unlike Bitcoin. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. But the long and short of it is, I spoke to some people in, I think it was a Telegram group chat. And I kind of spun the idea when this huge price action happened. And I said, look, if I was to build another Monero wallet on iOS, let's say, to start, that was dead simple. Anyone can use it. Extremely basic user interface, minimalist, something that would come out of the Apple shop. Right? What do you guys think? Would that be something anyone would be interested in? And I got like 3 or 4 or 5 people who were like, absolutely do that. Absolutely get it going. I said, okay, let's see what we can do. So I spent some time putting together a prototype. I send in some images, and I got pretty much universally positive results. So I said, okay, cool. So I basically then end up deciding to, build this out a little bit more, flesh out some of the additional features. I get everything situated, and then I launch it on test flight. So I launch it on test flight, and, we had crazy response within like days. I launched it on like a Wednesday, let's say. And by like Friday, I was, heavily talked about in the community. I had posts blowing up on X, and I don't really post much on X. I had to clean up my X profile as well a little bit because there was some old stuff about other things that I was talking about, and now I'm like focusing on this one thing kind of, right, and not really posting previously at all. And so I kind of had to fix that a little bit as well. And the true story of the name as well is that I bought the domain first. So I had bought Monero.one and didn't know what I was going to really do with it. And then I think somebody, said something, and I was talking about the wallet, and I'm like, that would be good. So that's kind of when I decided to, get it off the ground basically at that point.
Some people are,
some
people are saying the sound is only coming out of one. Yeah. If you can try to fix, just because I don't want people to miss out.
Let's see what we can do here.
That's strange.
Maybe the audio MIDI utility or something like that. Otherwise,
like
I can always, let's see, output one input.
Yeah, you have it. You put it on stereo audio, right?
Yeah, in StreamYard, it's supposed to like do it automatically. And I have it on stereo on there, and then the Scarlet. Let's see. Otherwise, I'll just switch it to the. This is what I'm saying, right? Like I was saying earlier, it's like you do all this work, and let me just switch it to the AirPods for now.
Okay.
All right, so now we're on the AirPods, and that's just probably.
Whoa, all right.
Now it's
you got louder.
Probably very, okay. Well, we'll have to do some adjustments there. Okay,
this is perfect.
All right, all this fancy equipment. Anyway, go ahead, Doug.
So this is relatively recently then. Obviously, you've been in Monero for a while. That's pretty OG. 2017, right? That's when I was getting into Monero as well, right? So you came from Bitcoin. You were a Bitcoiner before that.
Yeah. Bitcoin, I had discovered. Okay, people are saying it's better. Okay, great. Anyway, yeah, $200 versus Anyway, so I had been into Bitcoin since like we're talking 2012 or so, right?
Okay.
And now let's not mince words. It's not that I made any money at the time. It's just I had heard about it.
You were aware.
It was 120. I was aware. Me and a few buddies were aware. It was $120, let's say, at the time, and we're like, this is really cool. What is this, et cetera, et cetera. It drops then from 120 to like maybe 20. And we're like, wow, this is a good thing we didn't do that. And then a little bit later, when it had come back up into 60s, I said to my father, how about we go in for like $2,500 a pop, and we do like $5,000 or something like that. Now at the time it was only Mt. Gox, right? And so you look at that later and you go, oh, okay, well, good thing we didn't do that. We would have lost all our money because it all gets locked up. Now, of course, years later, here it's all getting released. And so it would have actually forced us to hold for all these years, and then we would have been able to get X million dollars, let's say, being able to offload, a decent percentage of that, or lend against it, or whatever we wanted to do. So, and then I got into Monero years later in 2017 when the ICO crazes happened, and I bought some other garbage as well. But Monero was the only one that kind of stuck around and had real utility, right? And then, like I said, I kind of just rediscovered it recently when I got more into privacy, like within the last few years or so.
And then this Monero one, so it's a relatively new project. I mean, you started working on it when we had this last rally. Is that?
I think I had started messing around with some of the libraries before then. And I kind of took the project off the shelf and said, how hard would it be to get something going, right? And I said, okay, how hard is it going to be to get something going? And let me make sure that people want this before, because I've had thought of the idea before then, but never actually did anything with it. And so then, a bunch of people were like, yes. And then that was it. And it's like taken on this life of its own now where, we've got a bunch of people that are fans and like it and are telling me what to do, as far as features. Like it's pretty community driven as far as like everyone is telling me, hey, you got to add this, you got to add this. Like if I look at my master feature list right now, we've got integrating XMR bio, iMessage, merchant mode, view key support, multi-wallet. I teased multi-wallet actually the other day, so that's got to go in there as well. Let's see, option to not have a pin, even simple stuff like that. Adding in a name, the nearby send feature that I had demoed recently. So I have to actually push that out. But I prioritized the App Store launch, right? Because it started to kind of get bigger, and I wanted to make sure that there was a stable release that people could use before I started really going ham on a lot of these extraneous features. So we just launched on the App Store, last Friday. We're in like 175 countries or something like that. And we've seen a lot of, downloads since then, but there's still a lot of people that are on the test flight. So now it gives me these two channels to push out these features, right? I can have the main channel, and then obviously we can test stuff and pilot stuff in the test flight and really start messing around with some of these other different pieces, and then move that over to the main branch once everything is, reasonably QA'd, right?
And so how would you say Monero 1 differs from Monero, Cake Wallet, or maybe Monero.com wallet, right? Because that's just supposed to be a simple Monero only wallet. Let's compare it. Like, how would you say those two kind of different? Like, what's the goal here of Monero.com versus what some of these other wallets are doing?
So Cake and Monero.com have very similar code bases, because they're, obviously owned by the same company. And Monero.com is essentially Cake Wallet with the other currencies stripped out, right? And I actually looked at that when I initially started, building out this project, because it doesn't make sense to start from complete scratch, right? You need to start from somewhere as far as the Monero integration, because essentially from a programmatic standpoint, you've got these C libraries that you need to have wrapped in some way that can be accessible on the iOS frameworks, right? And again, I started with iOS because I'm, mostly an iOS user. So, I looked into that, and then what I ended up doing was using Monero Kit, which is from the guys that made Unstoppable, and using that to actually do a lot of my interactions with Monero. And I've since made some adjustments to those libraries to support some of the features that I want to support. Now, as far as feature set and differences from Monero 1 versus Monero, an Unstoppable, a Cake Wallet, a Monero.com, all these other guys. So I've taken what I would say is a fundamentally different approach, both technically and feature-wise. So technically, one of the decisions that I made very early on was I wanted to make it iOS native, meaning the entire application is written in Swift, which is Apple's native language. And what that allows me to do is more closely interact with the hardware on the device, because obviously as there's less wrappers, there's less stuff in between that reduces, latency and throughput and all these different things. So because of that, I'm able to use some of the native, especially with iOS, 26 and going into what's going to be iOS 27 in June, which they'll announce, some of the liquid glass aesthetics that Apple has come out with. And it really makes a beautiful app when you actually use a lot of these components that Apple gives you, as far as, like, if I take a look at it right now, the banner card, the Face ID buttons, the send and receive, the entire transaction list is a row of these liquid glass buttons. The wallet switcher, which is going to be coming out relatively shortly, is going to be the same thing. And then the nav bar as well. Like, you have this little glass slider on the bottom that you can move. I'm just messing with it right now. That can move across, and it has these. So it makes it feel like it's a part of the operating system. That's as far as user experience goes. Now, from a feature set standpoint, my decision was I want to start with a basic minimal wallet. Does exactly what you need it to do, no more, no less. We take that skeleton, and then we build from there, adding things that people want. And that's kind of, what I've done. And I basically have started adding additional features in from there. So the question isn't really, what do we have that other wallets don't have? It's a lot of that is what have we stripped out and what have we, abstracted to a place that it makes sense to your average user. There's a mode that I want to roll out that's going to be rolled out relatively soon, which is called easy mode. So you have your advanced users that want to configure every single setting and they want to put the nodes and they want to do this. And you have I have buddies that have never touched crypto before that say, hey, I want to use a private payment method to send money to my barber or my babysitter or pay for my groceries, whatever it might be. You can do that now in Switzerland with the SPAR integrations and stuff like that. And so that's what we've done. The one big thing I will say that we do have that no other wallet does right now, especially on the iOS world, is syncing in the background and cache syncing. So essentially what we've been able to do with the trusted locations feature is create and spin up a live activity that runs in the background on the device. And this is an optional feature. You don't have to use it. But essentially, it ensures that the wallet is always synced. And the location that's used for that feature never leaves the device. The app is totally open source. I encourage anyone to go on our repo to take a look at it to make sure I'm not doing any nonsense. But that's essentially the larger piece that I've implemented inside of Monero 1 that makes it especially compelling. So you've got a simple wallet app that does what you expect it to do. You're delivering a what I would say is a more positive user experience because they don't have to worry about coming back to the app and, oh my God, where are these new transactions? Why is my balance wrong? I can't do a send right away because I have to wait until Wallet 2 fully synchronizes. All of these different pieces. And so that was my initial goal when I started. And that's essentially what I've built up until this point. And so that's long and short of it.
Awesome. So yeah, it sounds like your mission is really UX and usability for Monero, right? Obviously, you want it to maintain privacy. Those are all things that you're concerned about, but it's not necessarily the top priority for what Monero 1 is, right? Like, if somebody wants to be super private, obviously maybe they're just using the Monero client, right? Monero 1, making it super simple, slick, stripping out all the other cryptos, Monero only. I like the easy mode concept, especially, I've onboarded many people. So maybe tell us about that. Like, when I download Monero 1, how is it perhaps different than, let's say, starting with Cake or Monero or one of these? Is there a difference there in terms of the workflow for the user, like getting up and running, writing down the private seed thing? Because those are barriers too. Like, right? Like, hey, I'm just a dude. I use Signal. I'm into Signal. I heard Monero is like the private version of Bitcoin. I want to start using it, and then they go to download it, and it's like, write down your 12-word seed. Like, wait, what? Like, do that? Like, are you trying to eliminate those issues as well, or deal with those things in a different way, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. And that a lot of those pieces come with the easier mode, right? That is going to be the first question that users are asked. Right now, it is as simple as it gets as far as what you would expect from a Monero wallet. So right now, the process is essentially Android, I see a question in there. Android does exist. You can search Monero 1 actually on the Play Store. And I kind of accidentally, put it into open testing on Android where it's searchable in the Play Store.
Will it be on F-Droid?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So this weekend, actually, I mentioned this the other day, because iOS right now on the GitHub, and then we'll come back to the interface question or the onboarding question in a second. But right now on GitHub, I have set up the pipeline such that IPAs are automatically released, which means that if you're a developer or if you use AltStore or you're one of these guys who wants to, ensure that what you have is the same as the code that's on there, which I totally understand and respect, you can go on there right now and sideload that IPA. On the Android side of things, I haven't messed with the repo in a little bit. And so that's one of the things I need to do this weekend as well, to bring it up to feature parity with the version that we have on iOS. And part of that feature parity is going to involve unifying the repo and then ensuring that in the releases section, there's an APK file that you can download. Once that's done, as part of that pipeline, we will have that automatically uploaded as well to F-Droid so that people can just download it over there. So that's that piece. Now, coming back real quick to the onboarding piece. So right now, it's as simple as it gets as far as if you go into the wallet and you are to, let's say if I take my wallet right now.
Can you share screen? Can you do a share screen with anything?
Let's see. Can we do that? Let me pull up a simulator. Hold on. Let me pull up a simulator. This is a new build, actually, that has the multi-wallet in there. So we're going to see how stable this is.
Yeah, if you're able to share your screen with a simulator, then Justice should be able to pull it up, and we should be able to actually look at it.
All right, let's see. Let's take a look here. I'm going to have to wipe this. Okay, that seems clean. All right, let's see what we can do here. Share. Using this with 2 monitors. Okay, well, I've only got the one, so let's see. I got to allow window 17 Pro.
There we go.
Okie doke. So cool. Again, this is the multi-wallet build. So honestly, I don't know how stable this is, but this is what you're greeted with. I need to figure out how I'm going to improve the resolution on this icon, because I glassified the Monero icons inside of Apple's Icon Composer, but for some reason it looks lower resolution, even though it's not. I think it's because of the edges and because of the way the blending works. So I haven't found a solution to that yet. But again, part of when you come into the app, you only have 2 options, right? You create a new wallet or you restore a wallet. So if we create a new wallet, you can choose your seed, and I put this little recommended pill right here to make it be like, listen, this is what you should do, right? This is what we recommend. You hit continue, you put in a PIN number, right? 6 digits or 4 digits. I had a buddy of mine who requested 4 because he's like, I don't want to do 6 digits, and somebody else requested, hey, can you shut the PIN off altogether? And that's coming, right? You put in your seed phrase. Here it is. You say, hey, listen, I've written this down. Now, another thing that I struggled with decision-wise or product-wise here is, should I enforce that you've written this down? And right. I don't know the correct answer to that question, because there's a lot of people that do that. Most wallets do that. They say, hey, what's your 8th word? What's your 12th word? What's your whatever? My logic is this.
It slows
people down. And if you are an advanced Monero user or an advanced crypto user, you're not going to be dumb enough not to do this. Now, in the alternative universe, in which, let's say, we put it on easy mode, I would probably, and this is, again, because I haven't fleshed out this feature fully, maybe I just back up the seed for you into iCloud and say, listen, it's going to be backed up here in some secure way where it can always be pulled down in the future, so long as, your PIN or something like that. And then also here it is, it's backed up, or maybe I force you to print it, right? There's like a print thing or something along those lines. But my point is, I want to in some way obfuscate this level, this complexity from the user, because the average person is not going to want to have to deal with this at all. But for people who do have to deal with it, right, they know what to do at this stage. You hit continue. This is new for the multi-wallet piece. This is all like totally unreleased information. This is not anywhere, but let's say I want to name it, whatever I want to name the wallet. I put in an emoji here. We hit continue, and that's it. Your wallet is now syncing. I've already pre-selected. I've auto-selected a node. In this case, it's the Monero one. Well, actually, I guess it auto went to Seth's node. Well, whatever. That might be a bug. But it's supposed to go to auto-select and choose the fastest node as far as latency. Right now, Seth's node is slightly faster as far as ping. But again, the end user doesn't have to do any of this, right? They come in and bam, we're syncing already. Right. They hit if we go to, I think trusted locations is already enabled because I've already enabled it on this device. We're already syncing from home. I hit the home button. Bam. It's in a little live activity. Right. If I lock my screen, we can sit here and see the progress of that sync. And I can just sit here and walk away for 20 minutes or whatever the situation might be. Another question is probably, why is it syncing this many blocks for a brand new wallet? That's probably a bug. This is the multi-wallet build, and I'm still messing with this. But the long and short of it is, That's the experience that I want to deliver for the users. And I want them to be able to immediately pop in here and receive to their QR codes, start spitting out sub addresses, right? I want to receive here. I want to receive here. And they're good to go, right? There's not a ton in here. There's the wallet. There's your chart. You got any settings you have are in settings, right? There's no alternative really weird ways to get there. Here's your balance. You click here. You could track your balance over time. Obviously, there's no XMR in this wallet right now. And that's pretty much it, right? There's going to be additional things that get added, right? Like when you hit the send button right here, there's going to be like the nearby sending feature, things like that. But as well, the sending flow itself. I recently redesigned this entire sending flow so that there's, it's multi-step. It's a lot easier. There's confetti at the end. So it feels good when you're using the application. And it feels like you're using a premium product. And that's, part of how I've, gone about designing this app from both the product side and the tech side.
Okay.
So
now you kind of touched upon it in the beginning, and sorry, Shortwave, I'll let you jump in. Was it a fork of Cake Wallet or another wallet, or you just built it off from scratch?
Well, here's what I did. So I pulled in all the repos and I said, okay, what do I want to use as my base, right? And Cake had a lot of their Monero pieces already baked into the application. And the other thing is that Cake uses something called Flutter. And Vic and I discussed this as well, which is Flutter versus native. And Flutter essentially allows you to code everything in one language and then have it pushed out to both iOS and Android. And I didn't want to do that. So Unstoppable, on the other hand, although they've got multiple different cryptocurrencies, their wrapping of the Monero C libraries is in a completely separate repository that is in Swift, which is MoneroKit. And so the only thing that's forked necessarily is that MoneroKit repo, which allows all of the actual integrations with Monero itself, right? Like that sync status that we're getting there is from MoneroKit and then the underlying, Wallet 2 libraries and things like that. When we actually go to send the transaction, right, it gets submitted in that way off to the node to get sent out. Same thing when you're sitting here and deriving your seeds and spitting out sub addresses and things like that. So a lot of that plumbing comes from that MoneroKit. But obviously, I've made a lot of improvements to it as far as like the syncing and some other pieces as well that we needed for some very specific functionality. Some of the multi-wallet stuff as well. And that's pretty much all that's forked. The entire Monero 1 repo itself, that's all 100% custom code.
Okay. Very cool. Shortwave, I'll let you jump in and ask some questions.
Yeah, so I'm curious as to who you're using for a fiat API provider and if you can turn that off if you would be able to turn that off.
This is a good question. I like this question a lot because I've been asked this, and I actually posted a tweet about this yesterday or the other day. So here's what I'm doing right now, and I've gone through a few iterations of this. Right now, I built out an API that essentially wraps CoinMarketCap and then grabs that data and serves it up to the user. Now, I also was going back and forth with Cyber Satoshi on X about using KYC RIP. Now, KYC RIP only has data from, let's say the last 4 months or something like that, 4 or 5 months, whatever it is. So that's that piece. Now, as far as turning it off, somebody said something to me yesterday about, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you could recompile the app with certain flags that would disable functionality? And so I think I'm going to start doing that, which is allowing essentially feature flags where you can build the application a little bit more customized without any external communications. Because essentially this communication is the only external communication really that the app does. So I think as far as to your point, having a button in here where we could just completely disable this feature for the more privacy conscious users, where they say, "Hey, I don't want this talking to any API." I think that's totally reasonable. And actually, if I don't have that in my master feature list right now, let me just put this in right here. So I'm going to say turn off wallet chart any external communication, because I do agree with you that that should be user choice. So I'm just going to notate that as well. But anyway, so these are things that I have thought about pretty significantly. And I may at some point put like a sub note here as well, where it says like, hey, this data comes from CoinMarketCap, but it's coming through a wrapped API essentially.
Yeah, because see, the reason I ask is because I'm a big on Android, I'm a big Monfluo user, and their whole thing is a KISS philosophy as well. And so they specifically say they don't have any APIs in the app at all, and they're not going to put any APIs in the app at all. So it's, you bring up the wallet, you get a list of your transactions, you get to send, receive, and that's it. You get your balance. And like, and that's the only thing the wallet does. It allows you to set your nodes and stuff like that, and it allows you to create multiple wallets and use multiple wallets. But other than that, it does not do any of that other fancy smancy stuff. It leaves all that to everything else.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that should be a choice right there in the onboarding flow. Is just, do you want to enable charts? I got a lot of people that wanted charts, which is why it was like one of the first or second features that I added. And I think there's not. I think from what they were telling me is that at least the portfolio piece, there were other apps that don't do that. But it should definitely be a choice of the user. And so I'm going to put that in the onboarding flow. And then when you go to the chart section, it'll just show as like disabled or something. And then you can just re-enable it later in the settings.
Okay, that's all
So
I had.
that's a great idea. Cool.
Awesome. Now, are you guys thinking of adding instant exchanges and things like that we see in most other wallets?
That's next. So my priority was App Store release first. I'm probably going to clean up the Android release this weekend, and I am going to start looking at swaps. That's next, because I have had 101 million swap providers reach out already, and the truth is I have not yet decided on a provider or providers. I do think that when I launch it, more than likely I'm going to start with one, and then we're going to see, because my main concern with swaps is a balance between usability, privacy, and lockups. And every single swap provider has trade-offs as far as those different pieces. And so it's become very difficult for me to make that decision. So I'm talking to the providers right now to kind of figure out how I want to do that and under what circumstances. A couple of questions as well here in the chat. Revenue model. We have donations right now. And as far as how much it's going to take for me to continue maintaining, I'm going to continue to maintain the wallet regardless of income. That's not irrelevant, but I didn't expect the wallet to get to this point. That being said, if we can make money off it, great, awesome. And it seems like the swaps and the on-ramping and off-ramping are the path to do that. And so that is going to be coming, relatively shortly. And it also is a benefit for the users. And then that's another feature that is also going to be disableable, right? Because again, if you don't want any extra communication, that's, I get that and I understand that. Default node. So if I have done this correctly, the default node should be automatic. Now we ship with the Monero 1 node, Hashvault, and Seth's node. And so by default, I have it on auto, where it'll just pick whichever one is has the lowest latency to your location. How much bandwidth is currently needed? It depends on how much you need to sync. Essentially, the wallet will initially create a few TCP connections to the node, and so it does suck a decent amount of bandwidth in that initial phase. But once it starts trickling in blocks, it's not as bad. And then obviously, once you're mostly synced, it's less so. How much it's costing me to run the node right now? It's very cheap. It's like it could be I don't know, $100 a month, something like that, maybe less. And that can scale apparently the way that I have it set up to a decent amount of users. So it was something I decided to do at cost to myself, just because, to be honest, the real reason that it was done is because I was having trouble when I was troubleshooting the app, trying to determine if I was having problems with the node or if it was a problem in the app. And so I needed to have something where I could say, yup, it's definitely an issue with the node, or it's definitely an issue with the app. And then I decided, let me just release this because it's going to make everyone's lives easier. So anyway, there's a few answers to some questions.
Awesome, brother. Like I said last week, when we had our guest on last week, Relevant Peter McCormick, he was working on something interesting. It's just exciting to see all these new projects being released for Monero.
Yeah,
you've been around since watching things since 2017. I've been watching since the early days. It feels like we're in a renaissance right now for Monero. All these new people, not just new users, but new builders in the space, new entrepreneurs. So super exciting to see things like this coming out, man. And you seem very determined. You seem very focused and obviously capable. You already got this thing up and running. So kudos to you, man. Have you launched other apps? Obviously, this doesn't feel like this is your first app. You've worked on other projects. Is that your day job?
Well, yes and no. So I primarily work on, development from I guess full stack at this point. I was a back end developer, and I kind of pivoted more to full stack. But I've worked as far as front end, back end, data engineering. I do a lot of my own DevOps as well, so I'm familiar with running applications on AWS and cloud platforms, or just spinning up your own server on like a Hetzner or one of these other guys. And so I've worked at some crypto CeFi companies. I've done smart contract work over the years. I have done work in AI more recently. And so as far as releasing an open source project, an app, this is the first one that I've done because, I'm used to everything kind of being closed source. And, I didn't even, not that I didn't know, but somebody told me that the MIT license is the standard for open source. And I used the wrong license when I first started the repo. And somebody called me out on it. And I said, if that's the standard, that's what I'm going to go by, And so I'm kind of learning along the way as far as like what is standard and what the community expects from me. And I feel like as long as I'm just spitting out maximum transparency, it's kind of good for everyone. That's that. What do we have here? Perhaps the most important kind of wallet Monero needs is the one for noobs that their trusted privacy nut friends can recommend, but don't need much help to use simply and reliably. Does Monero One aim for this? Yeah, that's the goal, right? I want the privacy nut friends to be using this, and I want your friends who don't use Monero at all to be using this. I can give you an example. One day, you decide you want to give your buddy a gift of, I don't know, $500. Maybe he's graduating, or your nephew's graduating, high school or something, right? I message him a link that says, hey, here's your $500 in Monero. You need to download this app to use it or to claim it, right? This is something that was done in the early days of Cash App and Venmo and things like that. So you come on, you say, great, no problem. They download it. You say, flip it to easy mode, right? And now they have true sovereignty over their money. And some of the other features that we're looking at adding going into the future for these everyday people. I think I talked about this yesterday as well on RL's podcast, but there are people who care about sovereignty more than they care about privacy. And I think it's important that we distinguish between those two things, because sovereignty means that you truly own the value that you've stored, whereas the privacy aspect is, hey, I don't want anyone to know what I'm doing. And those things go hand in hand, but there are lots of different situations of folks who say, I just want to have the control, right? I don't want to be in a situation where money can get seized out of my bank account or whatever. But at the same time, I live a daily life. So I want to imagine a world, and I'm talking to providers about setting something like this up, where people can choose to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to be KYC'd with some provider that spins up a virtual bank account that, at least as far as the United States goes, you can have money ACH'd in, direct deposited, let's say from your paycheck, automatically gets converted into XMR. Now you own that money truly. And when your bills come out at the end of the month, they can ACH out of that account and it just pulls from your Monero balance, or you have to approve, let's say, a transaction to pull it from your Monero balance and it sweeps it in over there. And so that allows people to have everyday lives where they can still have the control over their money. Obviously, you lose some privacy there, right? And it's not something that we want to shoot for as like the ideal situation, but we're going to have this in-between world, I think, for the next several years where people are still deciding what kind of money they want to use, right? And I think that as more people start getting banned and unbanked and debanked, you see this a lot in the UK. You see it here too, right? With the world of Venmo, with the world of Zelle, with the world of Cash App. And people really don't know until it happens to them. And those are the people who are going to care more about sovereignty than they will about privacy. They may still care about privacy as well, but having true ownership with something like a Monero, I think is going to be important for those types of people. And so that is what we are doing with Monero 1 these days. So
here's the thought with that easy mode that you mentioned. I like the idea of the easy mode. One thought is that you could possibly do that whole thing where you back up the seed for them in the iCloud keychain encrypted, and then once they get a Monero balance of some sort, then show them, hey, by the way, this seed phrase is the way that you normally do this, and here's how it works, and then show them. So you could wait until they get a balance of, say, 0.1 Monero or something like that, which is, if they lost 0.1 Monero, it's not going to kill them. But at that point, I think they've probably done a couple of transactions, and you can introduce it and be like, hey, this is how this seed phrase thing works, and here's why you should do it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that one of the things that I thought about when they do go into the easy mode is sort of a tutorial where it kind of shows them around, right? Because look, even in easy mode, it's still at the sync. So they're going to go, what is this, right? People who don't have any understanding of Monero who download this app right now would be extremely confused, even though, I've made it as simple as possible for a Monero wallet. They still will not fully grasp that these concepts. And so I do agree with you that there's that knowledge gap there where at the point where they receive a decent amount of XMR, we probably would want to remind them hey, maybe you haven't gone through the tutorial. Now would probably be a good time if you actually want to learn about the thing that you're using right now. But it all depends on the user, obviously.
Now, Joe, do you have anybody else you're working with on this? Is there a team, or are you just a one-man band?
As of now, I am the one-man army. Somebody said on Twitter, they said, wow, I really like the App Store screenshots. This is really cool. Props to the designer. To that, I said, yeah, that's you're looking at him. That's basically me.
You're literally Monero 1, right? the one man.
That's it. The one-man show, the one-man army. Yeah. I mean, cool. When money comes in the door, that probably will change at some point in the future. But at least for now, it's all me. Yeah.
That's the best way to bootstrap it. And then as you get it off the ground, if you start to achieve success, then you could scale the team up and everything from there for sure. Very exciting, man. I think it's awesome. Anything else you want to get the word out while we have you up here on stage regarding the app?
Yeah, I would just say that if for latest updates, just make sure to follow me. I'm Joe_IO on X. Funny story. The official X account for Monero_1 did get suspended for some unknown reason when I went to go get the blue check mark for it. I imagine they assume it's impersonation or something. So I'm working with them to get that resolved. But our website is just Monero.one. Yeah, just there's going to be a lot coming, very
Oh,
shortly. So I would say stay tuned. Yeah.
the Monero one Twitter account was suspended before you're saying?
The
Oh,
Monero _1. I'll tell you what happened. I started an initial account, which was just Monero 1, all one word. And I tried to get the blue check mark immediately for that one. That one got canned. And then I decided to make a new account
Any
with
idea
Monero
why it got
_1.
suspended? Why it
Yeah,
got
well, that
suspended
one
in the
they
first place?
told me. That one they told me that it was impersonation, and I went back and forth
Okay.
with them. And I'm like, listen, I've developed a company here. We do have an incorporation now, which is Monero One Inc. I'm like, I'm the owner, founder, president, whatever terms you want to say of this corporation. What can we do here? And they were not helpful, which was fun. So I decided. I said, well, maybe I need to get it off the ground first, and so. I was hesitant, obviously, recently, but at some point, it's like you're starting to get impersonators and things like that. I'm like, something's got to be done here. So I decided to opt for the blue. I pop open the blue, and this now hit. But now this time I'm not stopping. So this time we're going Better Business Bureau. I'll go to the Texas AG if I have to, and I will be the biggest pain that they've ever had to deal with until that account gets unblocked. So that's that situation. But for now, like I said, all my posts go through the Joe_IO account. I was using that one to sort of amplify those because the Joe.io account, I got the blue check pretty much immediately because it's me, so they can't say anything, any nonsense. So that's that. And now, so Monero.1 is the website. Another question came in about AI. So
Yes, I was going to ask you about this as well.
Yeah, so
How much vibe coding is taking place?
Yeah. So look, this is what I will say. I'm a big fan of Claude Code in general. I think it's very useful, especially for things like putting up the website and for architecting new features, right? Having a discussion with the AI and say, listen, this is a feature that I want to build out, right? I want to add near field, communication sends between devices, and gaming that feature out and then having it scaffold these different pieces, I think is really important and allows you to move at a speed that you want to be moving at. But what you start to see in a lot of the development industry these days is the true vibe coder, which is the guy who has no technical expertise, or maybe he's a junior dev or something along those lines, and he just sits there and hits enter to everything that Claude Code tells him to do. The Claude Code is a tool that you need to make sure you are using properly and responsibly, or you're going to have a lot of problems. You may not have problems initially, but you're going to have problems later down the road. And so that I think is very important, but especially in the design world, I know what good design is, but I can't generate it for you on the spot. And so, part of this initial design came through using Claude Code to spin up that initial architecture and say, listen, this is what I want. Can you sketch something out in Swift UI and let's take a look at it and see what we've got, right? and then I said, hey, I want to make sure I want to have a title. How would we put that? Where do you think would be smart from a design standpoint to put these different things? And so that's generally how I use it in the course of development. And as well, I use Gemini for images, right? If I want to sketch out like some specific page or some specific graphic or whatever that situation might be, that helps a lot as well. I'll give you another example here, right? If we go to add wallet, okay, this piece right here, I said, how can I make the add wallet screen as cool and as attractive to look at as possible? What would Apple do in this case? And say, hey, get a glyph, right? Put it in this, throw on some nice lighting, add some animation as you're already doing in other parts of the app, which I think that was my idea originally. It was to put it in that that initial screen, and that's pretty much it. And so anyway, so that's kind of my thoughts on it. It's like a calculator. I've had examples when you're in high school and you're taking a physics test and you punch the wrong numbers into the calculator, you're going to get a bad result. So at the end of the day, it's still on you. So anyway, it's all about using the tools that we have responsibly.
Other social media besides Twitter possible in the future, and possible Onion support.
Oh yeah, we have that. Two things. So on Telegram, I am Joe_IO_0. I do have that as well in my Twitter bio, so there's no confusion because I did have somebody that was impersonating me on Telegram, so be extremely careful as always. Tor support we do have. So if you scroll down right here, you can, it's a little buggy right now, but basically you can come down here into the remote node section and you can run a local Orbot proxy and spin that up and use that inside of Monero 1. And yeah, and it's not on Android right this second because, like I mentioned before, I still have to get feature parity with Android just based on the last few weeks of iOS development. But yeah, Tor support is in the app. I did have some people asking me yesterday too about baking the binaries in. I don't think that's the right move personally, because I think if you're a sophisticated enough user, yes, Android is native. It's written in Kotlin. If you're a sophisticated enough user to have Tor, you're probably going to be running it yourself anyway in a separate app. Obviously, the connection's failing now because I don't have Tor set up on this device. But that's the long and short of the Tor integration. Now, another interesting thing with Tor that I'm going to bring up quickly is that what amount of traffic inside of the app do we want to go over Tor? Do we just want the wallet connections to go over Tor, or do we want everything to go over Tor? Right. This is something that Shortwave brought up earlier, right? Which is, hey, any external communications over APIs, do we want those connections going over Tor too, or do we maybe not want those connections going at all? So I think the way I'm going to solve this is I'm going to put a setting in the node section as well when you go into the connection for Tor to say, hey, listen, all traffic goes over Tor for the app, or just the wallet traffic goes over Tor. So anyway, that's that situation. I think we're good on socials and all that stuff. Yeah, if you want to download the app, just search Monero 1, or you can go to, I think I just updated the URL. So if you go to Monero.1/iOS, that'll bring you right to the page. If you want beta updates, go on Monero.1 and pop in your email, and you will be automatically added to the test flight. The test flight link is public if you don't want to put in your email. I don't have it off the top of my head. There's no easy URL, but if you pop on my Twitter, you should be able to find it relatively easily. For all the beta updates and the fun stuff that we're doing, it'll be a little less stable, but it's more fun, I assure you. So.
All right, brother. Can you stick around a little bit? We can bring up viewers on stage. We might have people that want to ask you questions. I have to run the news too, but maybe we do viewers on stage, get people up, and then I do the news when everybody's up on stage, so I can run through it quickly. I only have a few links. I didn't really have time this week to grab anything. And we all know the big.
The Monerotopia Viewers on Stage segment is sponsored by XMR Bar. Play dice with Monero using your privacy-respecting and provably fair algorithm. Go to xmr.bar. As always, verify and never trust.
Please gamble responsibly in accordance with the laws of your jurisdiction.
All right, I see we got a bunch of people backstage. Go ahead and bring them up.
There we go.
All
Get
right,
them on the horn.
We got Alaska. We got relevant Peter McCormick.
Yeah, and if you need to pull me off, go ahead.
No. You stay up if you can.
Oh, well, yeah,
Alaska,
I'm just saying
what's up?
if we run out of spots or whatever and you need to pull somebody off stage, you can pull me off.
Yeah, let's go ahead. I'm going to add the share link in the chat. If anybody new wants to jump up today, please do, guys. Putting the StreamYard link out there. You can jump up on stage. We'll bring you up. You can talk to Joe.
Yeah, see, the reason I was asking about socials is because I'm personally not an X or a Twitter, Telegram user. I use Noster, Mastadon, and Lemmy. So since they're open source,
Somebody told me about this within the past 48 hours. I'm probably going to start a Noster, however the hell you say it, because you're now like the second or third person that's asked, and that's too many people, which means I now need to do it. Actually, let me make a note of that right now before I forget, because I will forget to do that. And I'll probably, I'll figure. I know the URLs are a little bit different as well. But anyway, I'm happy to jump into questions now.
I gotta say, that was like 0 to 100, Doug, from you should get this guy on too. The following day. Well done, gentlemen.
I
These are
listen
two
to
men
my
of word
people,
for
man. I
the
listen to my
audience.
people.
Just so the audience knows, it's like Joe said, yeah, I'd absolutely come up anytime. And then Doug said, yeah, let's have him on. And it was like the next day. These are two men who deliver on their promises. So props to both of you.
That's it. Thanks, man. Yeah, we move quick. Somebody called it out and they said, "Hey, like, when are you going on Monero Talk?" It's exactly as you described. It was you.
Yeah, I'm Alaskan
There,
on
there you
Twitter.
go. There you go. I'm sorry. I can't keep track of. I got so many people, that are
Neither can
saying
I,
different things
bro.
or whatever. But yeah, so you said, "Hey, when are you going on?" I said, "Anytime." Get him on the horn. And then all of a sudden it was at Tuman, and Tuman came in and he goes, "Get him on. We're going on tomorrow." And that was there, whatever, within 48 hours.
Do it
I'm like, all
live.
right,
We're doing it
live. We're doing it live. Sure, no problem. Anyway, good times.
Monerotopia is very accessible. Yeah, anybody that's out there that's listening that wants to be a special guest, reach out. If you're working on something Monero related, you're always welcome. I mean, unless you're like a disruptor and you're just here to troll everyone.
You suck, Doug.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I am a little apprehensive when I see new people come on the scene, just because you got to watch who you prop up right away, right? You have people that come out that may not have the best intentions, but other than that, yeah, it's we welcome all. And as soon as Alaska said it, I was like, all right, Alaska saying bring this guy up. I guess he's the real deal. Let's get him up.
Well, the community has a lot of questions for this gentleman, and just in case you didn't know, Joe, like, this is pretty much it unarguably is the best open forum to discuss Monero related activities. It's a very unfiltered situation, and like, I was about to just start blog bombing you with like 10,000 questions, and I was like, if he was just up here with shortwave, this would go a lot faster, because he's got all the same questions. And even in your presentation here at the beginning, you kind of seem to already know what people are gonna ask, and I did like how you were trying to be quick with the receipts. So I will say that I so far it does look like your heart's in the right place. And there are a lot of people, including myself, that have been saying that Monero has a major accessibility problem for people who would otherwise be interested in it. And I totally live like the privacy nut job and cap, like as far to the, but even I know, like, there are so many people that just don't have time or patience or anything like that to try to participate in privacy maxing, and they just want to participate in the economic side of this community. And I thought it was really interesting that you brought that up, because I do have one family member, it's my dad, who's like your general normie iPhone user kind of guy. But the man truly is a genius, right? He's incredibly creative. He's incredibly good with his hands. He's a great builder and architect kind of guy with no passion or interest whatsoever into the tech space. And so it's a very personal thing for me to see when this space crowds everybody out just because they don't meet our personal standards of like privacy and so on. It's like, look, these are your battle buddies. They're your allies. So I appreciate the cause, and thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, of course. No, I appreciate you guys bringing me up.
Listen, guys, maybe I could quickly run through the news, and then we can continue to chat. You guys can chime in with some of these news articles. I don't really have much at all, really. And then we can continue to talk to Joe if people want to ask him more.
The Monerotopia Weekly News segment is sponsored by WizardSwap.io, a non-custodial cryptocurrency exchange.
All right. Yeah, I don't have too many links today, which is fine. Let's see, big thing. So obviously we got the war in Iran. I mentioned this at the end of the price report. This was the tweet that Trump sent out yesterday, basically like an hour, not even an hour, 20 minutes after the market closed. Market was a big down day. Oil was going up. Looked like things were getting much worse with the war. Trump tweets out Friday evening after the market closes, "We are getting very close to meeting our objectives as we consider winding down our great as we consider winding down," right? So are they winding down? They're considering it. "Our great military efforts in the Middle East with respect to the terrorist regime of Iran," and then he goes through kind of like everything that they've accomplished, completely degrading Iranian missile capability, launchers, and everything else pertaining to them, destroying Iran's defense industrial base, eliminating their navy and air force, including anti-aircraft, never allowing Iran to get even close to nuclear capability, and always being in a position where the USA can quickly and powerfully react to such a situation, protecting at the highest level our Middle East allies, including Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, and others. The Hormuz Strait will have to be guarded and policed as necessary by other nations who use it. So saying like the U.S. won't be drawn into that aspect. The United States does not. If asked, we will help these countries in their Hormuz efforts, but it shouldn't be necessary once Iran's threat is eradicated. Importantly, it will be an easy military operation for them. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald Trump. So kind of trying to stop the bleeding in the markets, saying, you know, the war is going to wrap up fast. Is that the case? Because the next story we have is this tweet breaking. This is, I guess, from yesterday, I believe, last night. Oh, no, this is from yesterday. Breaking, the U.S. Army is preparing to deploy the 82nd Airborne Division into the Middle Eastern region. The United States Department of Defense is deploying 3 warships, USS Boxer, USS Comstock, and USS Portland, around 8,000 Marines. So literally, as Trump is saying, the end is near, troops are on their way. And related as well, I've been keeping my eye on this, is the odds that there will be a Karg Island takeover. So this is on Polymarket. Karg Island no longer under Iranian control by March 31st is only at 13% and has gone down 8% like today. And then I think the other bet, let's see. Hold on a second here. Yeah, okay, so it's this. Where does it show?
There's a whole Iran section.
Yeah, there's a whole Iran section. I mean, I've really been keeping my eye on this Karg Island. I thought there was another one showing the other date. I don't know where it is. So I'm just kind of surprised that this is so low for March 31st, only at 31%, and that it went down today. I mean, what do I know? I'm just a dude who's on the internet, on X, trying to figure out where things are going. But my feels are that it's going to happen. It's going to happen soon. It's going to happen fast. That, you know, that's going to be the final shoe to drop, invading the island, taking over the island, and kind of declaring victory. That could be Trump's kind of like moment of, we succeeded, and now we're out of here. Let's go. Pump the market. Show's over. That's my feels. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Curious to see what other
Doug, it's going to happen very quickly and very fastly. We are going to go in to Karg Island. You're not even going to know. They're not even going to know what hit them, frankly. They don't even know what hit them. And we're doing that, and we are doing that. That's all I have to say on the matter.
Amazing, Joe. Amazing. Karg Island.
We've got a lot of people in there.
We're going to make it such a beautiful island. Everybody's going to want to go there.
What's crazy is I should have brought this story. I was listening to Bloomberg on the radio yesterday, and there was they brought up, he was talking about Karg Island in the late 80s in some article, or early 90s, on how America should go in and take over Karg Island. This is Trump quoted from like early 90s. Obviously, you know, wasn't the president yet, wasn't even had any intentions of running. But I don't know what the article was even about, but it's kind of crazy that even back then he was talking about taking over Carg Island. So it seems pretty inevitable to me. This might be a good bet. I'd say it's a very good bet. 13%.
I think the April one might be a little safer, but yeah,
April one's safer. But if you want to have fun with it, I would buy this. If there was a way to just pour it into it with Monero anonymously and send some Monero to that bet, somebody wants to vibe code that up.
How would they pay the reward though? If you pay privately, then
I don't know. You got to
pay out.
Somebody would have to be running some system, right, where it's like they're placing the bets for you.
They use USDC, right? So I guess if you
I have a
want,
buddy building. He's interested in building a Monero prediction market.
He's what?
He's interested in building a Monero prediction market. Well, he would take multiple currencies, but yeah.
Yes.
Well, the XMR bar guys, do you guys remember when they were on the show?
Exactly.
That was the first thing that what's that Switzerland guy's handle that I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but the guy in Sweden he's a total genius. He comes on the show all the time. It starts with the letter E, I think. Does anybody remember his name?
Elias.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That was the first thing that both of us just like immediately went to on the XMR bar.
Yes,
episode.
they are working on that. They are working. I've been pushing them towards that as well.
It's such a no-brainer, especially when they already like are kind of dipping their toes in almost the exact same space. And you know, that's one of the things that I was gonna even bring up about like the wallet, the Monero One wallet, is by doing this stuff like a little more modularly, it would be really cool to be able to add like plugins for things like XMR bar or for like these betting markets. But
Monero, XMR Bazaar. We need an XMR Bazaar seamlessly running on Monero.
Well, building a web plugin for that is gonna be easier on XMR Bazaar, but also being able to do it from your phone and having all of these things kind of like smashing into each other in this space. But I really believe like in the modular design of being able to add in plugins, like if you're a gambler, like being able to jump on an XMR betting market and so on. But that said, like, let's not lose sight of the fact that like we have now hit stages of Clown World where all you can do is laugh and just bet on these unbelievably destructive, inhumane, like, what is the absolute psychopath that's running the largest empire on the planet going to invade next? Is it going to be Cuba? Is it going to be Argyle Island?
We need it. We need Cuba.
He's going to get us all.
We're going to take it.
Just think about it. He's probably like getting us all ready for like, okay, it's going to be Cuba and Carg Island. And then like all the ships are going to just pivot over to Greenland all at once. I told you they'd never see it coming. Like,
Oh my god.
We really need to get a decentralized market so that we can have AP.
We're all doomed, aren't we? I'm pretty sure we're all doomed.
Let me continue to run through these. Don't have much more left. Next story is Thomas Massie. He tweeted about the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which will expire soon, and then saying, they need to get a warrant, obviously, to the act itself. But he then followed up with, I don't know what this tweet was in response to, because the other one looks like it was deleted. But he tweeted out, "You can't have freedom without privacy." So actually, kind of like what Joe was talking about, right? This idea going mainstream that privacy is vital, people waking up to it. Obviously, Tom Massie is very based and has been woken to that concept for a very long time. But nice to see a sitting congressman tweeting that out, all obvious to all of us. But yeah, the masses are waking up to it, guys. Next story. This is what we were talking about earlier. We got Clavicular just shilled Monero. Let me see if I could play this, and if you guys... Can we hear this, guys? If I play it,
I'm still seeing Thomas Massie.
Oh, you're still all right. Hold up. Let me fix that. You guys are still seeing Thomas Massie there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same
What did I
here.
do? What did I do? What did I do? All right.
Oh no.
Here we go. Here we go. There it is. Okay.
No
Let's
sound
play
yet.
this. Hold up.
Crypto shit.
Yep, we are.
Probably
There
best
it
if
is.
you just stay in just USDT. Yeah, stay out of all of the crypto shit.
Except for XMR.
It's probably
Oh,
best.
there it is, guys. Except for XMR.
He's
Coming from the
held,
looks
he's
maxer
held.
himself. Monero is officially sexy, guys. If you want to max out on your sexiness and your looks, you only use Monero. Only use Monero.
He knows what's up.
That vanity capture, right? It's like, ladies and gentlemen, you can't be attractive without holding some Monero.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is
Thing to do.
it is nice to see, right? I mean, the kid's he's extremely successful in his pursuits of looks maxing and spreading that idea and having a following for it. And here he is shilling
that-
Monero.
Anything that's countercultural, right? It kind of works
Yeah.
together. So that's kind of why. That's good.
Yeah,
no,
there-
that's curious. That's like a more full-throated than what I'd expected. Like Fuentes mentioned that he was like, Bitcoin's useless because it's not private. So unless you're using Monero, like he didn't actually like say that he liked it, but like it seems like Clavicular is actually like older.
Yeah,
Well, he's probably had to use it, right? That's why
Yeah.
he's a fan. And he knows the implications of using it versus not using it for whatever it is he's doing.
right. He's buying those peptides. He's buying whatever it may be, or maybe not.
Right.
Maybe not. But,
Whatever he's doing.
We can
thing
assume
that you have to
he's used
remember
Monero
with
before.
with these public figures is any of them that are sufficiently financially savvy enough are well aware of the implications of suggesting that they own Monero on something that can later be dug up or used against them. You know, if the tax man's coming for you, which if anyone should be aware of not saying you have Monero, you would think it'd be Nick Fuentes, right? Like you would never, ever want to tell people you held Monero if you were Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, he's actually been attacked. Like
exactly.
Someone has actually come to his house and tried to attack him.
Physically. Yeah.
Yeah,
and he was actually, you know, Nick Fuentes, right, was sent Bitcoin, right, by that French guy who ended up committing suicide or whatever, and it caused a lot of issues for Nick Fuentes. People made there was a large donation made to Nick Fuentes with Bitcoin, and it was all tracked and traced. So he also saw the implications of that. He's very Monero pilled for sure.
There are individuals possibly even on this show that thought it was really funny to spin up a Bitcoin wallet and swap in some dirty Bitcoin and send it to different people's wallets that had like public addresses. Because you remember back when they're like, if a wallet has touched anything that's been on the dark markets, it's now suspect. And since you can't prevent Bitcoin from coming into your wallet, people would just send a bunch of dirty Bitcoin to people's public addresses to be like, yeah, this is why that law will never work, and you can go, you know, yourself.
Exactly. Let me play this one as well. This is Clavicular again. Mr. Enjoyer mentions, so this guy that all teenagers all look up to hates Bitcoin and loves Monero. Oh, that is pretty awesome.
Curious.
So here he is now ranting
Go
about
back literally
Bitcoin.
on Suicide Watch. Remember, go back literally a month ago when me and Sneeko were collabing, sitting at the restaurant talking about Bitcoin, and I'm like, Bitcoin is dog shit. Bitcoin, don't trust this fucking garbage. It's a horrible investment. And everyone in the chat's like, bro knows nothing. Bro's a retard. Like, don't listen to this kid. He's got no idea. Like, vindicated. Jesus. Like, you guys are a bunch of fucking clown retards for buying into this shit. Okay? Genuinely, how do you believe this? How do people saying, I'm going to buy Bitcoin, a completely uncentralized, deregulated, basically nothing. It's not a thing. It's not a product. It's not anything. It's a bunch of fucking numbers on a blockchain, and you guys are investing in this piece of shit. Okay? Calling me the dumbass when I tell you, oh no, Bitcoin's going up. It's increased by 10,000x Since 2012, it's like, yeah, from 2012, it's like you're not getting any more returns on your investment. It caps out at like 100K.
So yeah, there you have it. Not attacking Bitcoin because of lack of privacy or anything. Just basically saying it's a pump and dump or whatever.
Well, he's saying it's already the upside has already been had. Is basically what he's saying.
Right, and he's right. He's right about that. I mean,
the market cap is basically the same as all these extremely valuable companies, right? It's like the same as like Apple, Nvidia, or whatever. So it's like really hard to justify a higher price without.
Right. If you're trying to 100x your wealth, buying Bitcoin might not be the best bet. If you're a long term looking for a quote unquote digital gold, yeah, sure. I think that's all I got today. It's extremely bullish though. That really is that we have this young guy with tremendous following. He's bashing Bitcoin and promoting Monero. That's I think we all.
He's got another video. He's got another video where he tells people to buy Monero. Says Nano Joe, get it going.
Oh really? Where's that?
This is I don't know. Let's see.
Someone just commented it.
Yeah, let's pull that up.
Not the link. They just said I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what video he's talking about.
Or say where it is, or give us some indication. Give us a sign. Is there a presence in the room?
Yeah. If you've got like a link, especially with a timestamp,
is the Monero pumping in here with us right now?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one.
Actually, that Clavicular does he does admit to doing meth, so he might actually have bought meth with Monero.
Oh my god. Let's make the rumor steroids and peptides. I think it's the last link I have for today. Actually, maybe I might have one more. JP, he's of Thorchain. I think he's the JP of Thorchain. He's saying full Monero support in Vultsig. Keygen, seed import for HD wallets, reshare, balance scanning, key image generation, and key signing. It works. So they've added Monero to Vultsig. Very cool. And my understanding is that's a step towards adding it to Thorchain. Obviously, it's exciting that it's added to Vultsig. I don't know how familiar everybody is with Vultsig. We had the Vultsig/Thorchain guy on Monero Talk a couple of months ago. Vultsig, really cool project. Basically being able to securely hold your seed in a multi-sig-like way, adding security. And they've added the ability to hold Monero on Vultsig, which my understanding is now a step towards adding it to Thorchain. So I think that's very good news. I've been a big proponent of wanting to see Monero on Thorchain. Obviously, I'm excited for Sarai Dex, but I haven't heard anything. I don't know. Anybody have any Sarai Dex news? Haven't heard much about it. We've been waiting on Luke to launch. We know he's obviously being very careful with things. Want to make sure it's all secure and audited. But in the meantime, would love to see Monero added to more dexes, particularly Thorchain. It's a big one. Guys, have any comments on that?
I do think it would be nice to have Luke back on just for an update, man, because it has been there are many of us who are very thirsty right now for any kind of update on where he's at, how things are going, what people can do to help. Like,
I think maybe there was an audit basically it was still in an audit stage, I think, at one point. Like earlier, that was an announcement. That was the last update I heard. I think that was in January or something.
And maybe we could have Luke on soon. Last link for the day is PyroChain they have their community crowdfunding system. And they're raising funds to be added to Anon Bazaar, which is awesome. So I was hanging out with them at Monerotopia. They're very excited to get this up and running, to get added to Anon Bazaar. We have Firo on there. Anon Bazaar is the multi-privacy coin version of XMR Bazaar. It really is just kind of a filter over XMR Bazaar, showing not just the Monero-based listings. While it shows all those, it also shows additional privacy coin listings. Right now, it's just Firo. But we're working to getting Pirate Chain added. So this community crowdfund is for a proposal to add R to the Anon Bazaar online marketplace as a direct payment method and allow marketplace sellers to add Pirate as a payment option to their listings. And then it goes to describe what Anon Bazaar is. So very excited to see that they're actually raising the funds. So you could donate there if you're a Pirate Chain person. And I think they double they have some the treasure. I guess they have a treasury. So any funds that get donated, they double it. We're not trying to raise tens of thousands, but we want to raise a little bit just to support the development of XMR Bazaar and Anon Bazaar, the maintenance and the administration. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work running it's not just building a marketplace and it just runs itself. It does take a lot of hands-on work. You have to constantly, mediate, be there, filter out the undesirable posts, get rid of the people that are there trying to scam people. And so as it gets larger, that workload gets larger. So very thankful to these privacy coins that are coming on board to Anon Bazaar. Obviously, the more we bring in, the better. It'll make for a vibrant marketplace, but it also helps us, further grow Anon Bazaar and XMR Bazaar with the funding, with the payments that are being made to be added. So very excited about that. That's the last link I have for the day. We can leave it at that.
I do have something to bring up. A couple weeks back, I think it was, I was on the Monero SimpleX group, and somebody was asking whether basic swap DEX was being shadow banned in the Monero community. And no, it is not, because people were asking about it and saying that Sarai gets talked about a lot while basic swap does not get talked about. So I figured I'd bring up basic swap as also a DEX option.
All right. That's all the news I got. We could.
Yeah, I got a question for Joe. So it's still in the app is still in test flight, right?
It is there are newer versions that are in test flight, but build 20 is what's in the app store right now, and I think we're up to 21 in the test flight.
Okay. Yeah. That's
Oh yeah. A week ago.
I had been using the test flight version, and frankly, I don't want to put a lot of money into an app that's still in test flight. I want to use the secure or whatever version. Yeah.
Feel free to use the stable release on the App Store. It's out already, and that's part of the reason that I prioritized that as well, because you're not the only one. I had 4 or 5 other people that were like, "Hey, I just want to use the stable version. I don't want to use anything in test flight." To which I say, "No problem."
Yeah, and I really appreciate the way you explained this today and the way that you're building this in public. So it's really awesome to see.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, man. Listen, I'm doing pretty much what I kind of feel, and then what people are telling me to do, and that's how I've been operating. And I've been making changes along the way as people have been giving me feedback on different things, especially the people that have given a lot of very critical feedback over X. And I think I've done about 85% of each of those individual things, whether it's the IPA releases. And, I had a guy ask me a question about how do we know the code that's you've written? This is a great question, by the way, and I hear it a lot. How do we know that the code you've written is the code that actually ends up on the App Store? The truth of the matter is there's no easy solution to that. Telegram has done it, but it's exceedingly complicated in order to get fully reproducible builds, and it's just not worth doing. So what I've done is I set up the CI/CD pipeline inside of the GitHub repo that shows it being uploaded to test flight, so at least that that's the version, unless I'm somehow pausing it and then uploading it on another, I don't even know how you would really do that. And then obviously the IPAs are released as well. So if you don't trust it, then you can sideload the IPA and things like that. But it's a very reasonable concern, and that's also why I'm prioritizing hardware wallets. Now, my game plan is read-only wallets, multi-wallets, so that way I can test the hardware wallets, because I would love to tell people, listen, you don't even need to put your seed in the wallet. You don't want to put your seed into an app that you don't totally get it. Understood, right? Use a hardware wallet, no problem. I'd suggest that even, right? Or have hot wallets and cold wallets and then transfer between them as you need. But that's my goal, and that's kind of the ethos that I'm working by these days.
Right, and it's still part-time for you, right? You used to have another job you work?
Yeah. Got to pay the bills somehow, right?
Amy of Powerchain is confirming Powerchain team will be matching donations for Anon Bazaar. Let's get Powerchain on there. Yes, thank you, Amy. Great hanging out with you at Monerotopia, by the way. That was awesome.
Yeah, if you can get a revenue model, then I think once you get your very first like paycheck in Monero, that feeling is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think it's mostly going to come from what's it called, swaps and on-ramping, off-ramping, and I think that's probably what we're going to do. And then if the payments themselves come in the form of other cryptos, I will upgrade them to XMR immediately.
Awesome. Does anybody else have questions for Joe? Joe, maybe you could give us a Trump rant on what Trump would be saying about Monero.
I've done so. I think we can have a few people make an appearance in this.
There was somebody.
Oh, we do. We have one more. Yeah, please. What do we got? And then we'll go into the rants.
Nothing much. I'm just going to say hi. I'm in Alaska again. Comrade Blade here.
Oh, nice. Alaska. Wow, man. You're living over there now, huh?
I'm working on it, bro. I'm fucking working on it. We have a bright future if I can get him to a free country. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
Good stuff. Anything else before we? You guys got about 5 seconds before the explosion happens.
Both figuratively and literally.
What would Trump be saying about Monero these days? Is Trump a Monero bro?
I think silently, him and maybe the kids are, because they're into crypto.
He would like
so I think
Monero,
they know
right?
what it means. He would be like, he would probably, realistically, he would probably be for it and against it at the same time, because he's done this as well with Bitcoin versus the dollar. At first he was like, I love Bitcoin, or no, sorry, he started with like, Bitcoin, it's not good. A lot of people are trying to use Bitcoin. They can't use Bitcoin. I like the dollar. The dollar is very good, very big. And then like whatever it was, like a year later, he comes out and he's like, I love Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the greatest thing that's ever happened. And we need to have Bitcoin, because if we don't have Bitcoin, we're going to have Chinese Bitcoin. And frankly, nobody wants Chinese Bitcoin less than I do. That I can tell you. That I can promise you. And frankly, there's another coin. It's very obscure. There's people talking about Monero. Monero is what they call it. It comes down from Mexico. It comes down from South America. We're taking over down there, frankly, and we're doing very well, and we are doing that. And we are going to take over this Monero coin, and we're going to use it to back the dollar. We are going to take all the gold out of Fort Knox and use it to buy up various Monero mining rigs. Joe I.O., he's doing a great job over there at Monero One. We've got a good partnership. I've got a great relationship with him, frankly. And then, you could have Bernie come out and be like, the top 1% of Monero holders, we don't know who they are, but we're going to figure it out. And we're going to take their bread and milk, and we're going to give it to the poor Monero's wallet addresses that don't even exist. Let me say that. And, who else we got? Oh, and then, you got, let's see, who else do I do? You got Alex Jones will come out of the woodwork and be like, Monero's the only good cryptocurrency. You've got the government-controlled helicopters coming in. They're raiding Douglas Tuman's compound. We have the documents. We've confirmed this information. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the report right here. It's all confirmed. Anyway, yeah, so there's a lot of characters that could come out,
Wow. Skills.
Yeah.
Skills.
Damn.
I do a few of them.
You need to have your own show. You need to have your own like comedy skit show, bro. Holy shit, that's funny.
Frankly, we could, but a lot of people, we've got work to do. There's very important business going on.
But the Trumps, like, there is some insider who has, like, on Polymarket, they have first off, there's a connection between Polymarket and Trump. Like, I think the Trumps have invested in Polymarket. So there's been some questionable Oracle resolutions. Like, Polymarket said that Venezuela wasn't invaded, and then they like canceled the market on Khamenei getting killed or something like that. But yeah, there's somebody who's like definitely an insider. Like, they place like 6-figure bets on like this stuff, and like it's obvious that they're an insider. But I don't know how they maintain their privacy. Like, because I don't think they're using Monero, so I haven't actually looked and like try to do any blockchain analysis, or seems like that would come out. But yeah, I'm curious how that person is achieving their privacy.
So that's
They might be swapping in and out. You know, they go into XMR and then come back out of XMR, and then nobody knows nothing.
So
yeah, but then that'd be Monero people being like, "Look, he used Monero." Like, yeah, it's probably just like an exchange maybe or something, or it's just like.
Well, how would they know? It depends on who they're using to swap. If they went into BTC or something like that and then used an atomic swap to go into XMR and then doing the same to go from XMR back to USDC, it would just appear to us as though, all of a sudden this, USDC just comes out, and it's really hard to do that technical analysis to see where it really came from, right? So I would imagine they're doing something along those lines.
So I don't know if you've heard this, Ramsey, but Donald Trump Jr. is on the Polymarket Advisory Board.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
is true.
That's right. Yeah.
And then and there's a lot more to it than that, and some of it gets really murky. But then the other thing too is, would anyone be surprised if during the Trump coins, like Melania and Trump coin era, like as soon as they were pumping it hard, you just know that they were moving it over to Monero somehow. Like, what else would you do? Or
they just don't move it. They keep it in USDC on chain somewhere, and they're like, these are the profits that we just don't touch them.
And the other thing about all of that is, like, up until recently, I had this thing about, even the bad guys need a place to funnel their ill-gotten gains, and Monero is like the laundromat for, I'm sure, a lot of, government institutions. But I actually no longer take that position, because they just like commit corruption brazenly out in the open, and they don't really have to care about laundering money anymore. So there's that to consider. But then I wonder, like, how do they pay off the underlings? Maybe there's room for Monero in there, but I wonder, maybe that's why Monero didn't pass 800, and is because, like, well, we don't need this to launder money anymore. So it's like, we had talked on this show before, if you didn't know, Joe, about remember when Trump just basically gave him and 9 other dudes $1 billion, just like ran out of the defense budget, just giving people billions of dollars openly with like no congressional hearing on spending appropriations or anything. So I don't think that there's really a market for money laundering at the highest levels of government anymore. But
the CZ pardon was just like blatant, like he just paid for a pardon. Like that was just blatant. Anyone could see that.
Or
that
like
one
if
was funny.
Just removing export controls as soon as you give, like, literally Trump, not even the government, but you give literally the president actual money in plain
That
view.
is fake news, Alaska. Nobody does that. I'm going to sue you.
I mean, the thing is, sue me for what, right? Like,
You're going to be sued. You're going to be sued so fast and so quickly and fastly.
It's going to be phenomenal, if nothing else. It's going
to be.
You're doing a 2016 Trump. Now he's gotten like old and tired, and it's kind of like soft and really, really slow. Like I can't even like listen. I have to listen. If I listen to it, it can't be live. I have to like listen to him like at 1.5x speed, like on a recorded thing, because he talks so slow.
Yeah, that's him at a rally. The one that I did, and he still does it sometimes, but the truth of the matter is he doesn't have any rallies because he's not, he can't run again in 28. So it's just, but that's the more fun one. The when he gets lowered down now recently, it's like, what's going on with China and what they're doing over there. It's terrible. And that one's kind of harder to do, but the speech one's more fun, where it's just, all the back of the throat. Where it's just like, these Monero bros, they come out, they're trying to get us, they're trying to track us down, frankly, But those are good ones to do. who knows what Obama's doing these days? Like, I talked to Hillary the other day, and I wish President Trump the best, and whatever he's talking about.
But,
So
you
not a
know,
lot of these
I
other ones get a lot of
when
news.
accelerationism like first became like a legitimate political philosophy, what, like 10 years ago or so. And I used to be really black pilled on the idea of accelerationism and like just let it burn down faster. But now that it's happening, I'm kind of enjoying it. It's like the whole clown pill nature of all of this, and just like I think that a lot of the people who had tied themselves in with the conservatives, the conservative movements, like, oh, well, this is kind of like a good middle ground, are starting to realize, because of the accelerationism and how fast things pivoted. You see all of these people who are MAGA bros like 2-3 years ago are like, wait a minute, I think we're the bad guys, and they're seeing like the full-blown cult of personality elements of it all. And I think we're winning more people to like just acknowledging
Are you
that there's
tired of winning?
solution. I'm so tired of winning. Like I slept in this morning because I just couldn't handle all the winning yesterday.
Every time I see the red markets, I think of that screenshot that somebody posts all the time, and they're like, I'm tired of winning. It's too much winning. That's funny.
The Dow is back
But
below
yeah.
50,000. So can we get those Epstein files now?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
somebody get her on it.
On you, like, look at how great the market is. You don't need Epstein files, which is like horrifyingly true. When people were making fun of her for it, I was like, no, but what she's saying is true, because did you notice how the evidence is out there and nobody cares because they're getting richer? So apparently that is how it works, where as long as enough money is going into your retirement account, then who cares the horrible stuff that the people are doing in the background? But now she needs to put up or shut up, because like that was the arrangement, right? Retirement accounts get pumped and then we ignore the corruption. Well, shouldn't the inverse be true? Like let's see those files now.
Right.
The Dow,
Yeah,
the Dow is above 50,000.
The Dow. Yeah. See, if I try to do that, I'll just sound like Peter Schiff. Be like, the dollar is going to shit, and you got to buy gold. And, I actually liked Monero, and Monero is what I thought Bitcoin was. But then I bought it, and I actually failed because I lost my seed phrase, and I told everyone that it was a mistake of Bitcoin,
Yeah, I remember that. I think we were on a boat together, and you had this piece of paper, and it flew away. Like it was you were pretty upset about it.
Oh, the boat trip. Yeah, of course. Yeah, all Monero is always lost in boating accidents. That's right. Just in passing. But
apparently,
yeah.
Body forgot his seed phrases when he got hit in the head during like boxing practice, I think it was. So there are other ones. Yeah,
that tracks.
That's another thing that I wonder about Peter Schiff, and I understand that like from a sound and principled economics perspective, like he makes his case or whatever. But at what point does the man acknowledge that reality doesn't matter anymore? Like, isn't there enough evidence now that, like, I'm sorry, Peter, no matter how much you want to think logically about markets, like, you've been overruled. Insanity is now king.
You could be right all day, Yeah.
Exactly.
You could be right all day and not, but now he's like, he's kind of vindicated in a lot of ways with gold, as high as it is. And he's like, I told you I was fucking right, and just going into it, going ham. And I saw him last year, actually, at the BTC 25, and I was busting his chops heavy on XMR. And I'm like, Peter, you got to get on the Monero train. You have to. And he's like, yeah, it's good. But the problem is, what's it worth? And I go, it's worth what people are paying for it. It's not. Well, what if? Well, see, I walked through the lobby with him, and I said to him, I said, let's do the thought experiment. Let's say, okay, well, it's got to be backed by gold. All right. Let's say, for all intents and purposes, we wanted to do that, right? how do we create a central authority that is actually holding who's holding those gold reserves, right? And it was at that point that he just launched into some other tangent, or whatever, because he knows that that's the real answer, right? Is that you cannot fundamentally have a currency that is fully and completely decentralized and private without and being backed by something, quote unquote, right? It's the reason that Monero has value, and this is what I've told people for years, is because it has more buyers than it does sellers, right? That's what yields the actual effective price. And so the question you have to ask yourselves is, why are people buying it? And this is my fundamental opinion on cryptocurrencies in general. Why are people buying the XYZ currency? In the case of a Dogecoin, people are buying it to sell it to someone else, right? There's no utility there. In the case of Monero, and this is why I'm such a strong believer in it in general, is because it is the only way that I can hold this value in a spot that is sovereign and private. There is no other option. You could use a Ztrash or one of these other coins, but it's not the same. And it does not do things by default. And especially once we get full chain membership proofs, it is completely untraceable, even from a big data perspective. And so that is the full understanding. I think BTC has value in general, but BTC has value for a different reason. BTC started as what people essentially wanted, what is now Monero. However, it's taken upon a life of its own as this like reserve asset that people can acquire digitally, and it essentially has branding at this point, right? It's the number one crypto by market cap. It is always going to be the first. It has this mystery origin story about the Satoshi and the 21 million and all these different pieces. And because of that, I don't ever really see it being unseated as number one. But I think the number two spots are definitely up for grabs. And then something like even in Ethereum or a Solana has utility in the respect of running smart contracts. But the other question is, what are we doing with these smart contracts? That's when you have to get into the real utility. So something like using an NFT for real estate or a car title or things like that. That's where you actually get the real, true utility, as opposed to, hey, I'm just buying this because number go up, right? So I think a lot of coins do have value in that regard, but it's not something that I would like necessarily want to hold long term.
Are you telling me my Bored Ape doesn't have value?
How low have those gone? I know that they were extremely high, and they have gone.
I've got 19 Bored Apes. I'm just kidding. I would never.
Carnage. Lest we forget the whole MoonPay debacle, where people were being influencers were being paid to buy the CoffeeZilla did a whole thing on this, where like they were being paid or something, and they to buy the Bored Apes, and then the apes weren't. I don't know the exact specifics, and I'm not making any allegations for legal purposes, but it was something along those lines. There was something going on there, so who knows?
One of the easiest ways I've ever like conceptualized my value proposition for Monero, we know that one of the things that powered the underpinning of the dollar as the reserve currency was, at first it was backed by gold, as everybody talks about, and then other currencies eventually pegged themselves to gold, and that became their underlying value proposition. And one of the most important parts of all of the history of this taking place was when France doubted the peg, and so they started withdrawing gold. And then that was when it became depegged from gold, but everything was still pegged to the dollar. So we have, over 50 years of history of nothing being pegged by nothing. And if Peter's
faith.
Exactly. And if Peter's underlying premise is we're going to tokenize gold, which I'm all for.
It's already been done.
Yeah, he's trying to do his own version, but yes, it's already been done. And that, but then the question becomes, okay, how is it being securitized? How is it being vetted, and so on? And great, I hope he tackles that problem. Except if a Monero comes along and it pegs itself relative to its own value against gold, what you have is people exercising their free market capitalism, as Peter Schiff always says, there's no such thing as a black market. There's just the free market, which is a story as old as time. Well, if the free market is changing its valuation against a constricted market, which is something that is trying to sovereignly hold gold, and you find, like any kind of arbitrage between those two, what you've effectively established is, in the same legal vein or the same argument as intellectual property has its own value. And you can get really extreme with this. So, for example, if a video game company, like let's say Blizzard, which makes like World of Warcraft and all these other really big games, if they sell their IP, people are buying it because of not only the code, but they're buying it because of the intellectual property. So in other words, somebody is making the claim that they have legal rights to this idea. But then you end up with a situation where that has to be enforced by violence. So it's backed by a monopoly of violence in the realms of government. So IP is intrinsically backed by violence, just like tokenized gold is supposed to be backed by gold. And if the stuff underneath that collapses, well, one thing about Monero that is unique to Monero, it is effectively intellectual property agreements backed by math. So instead of using violence to control agreements, you're using math to control agreements. And it depends on the entire rest of the network valuing those agreements. And it is mathematically required to be indifferent to what the agreement is. So what you're really backing Monero with, in a nutshell, is the fact that it can't be stolen if it's being used correctly. It can't be reversed. And it is an agreement between two parties that is universally vetted by all other participants in the network. And we already, for thousands of years, have claimed that certain ideas carry a nominal value that is negotiated amongst the market. And the only thing that has been able to protect that throughout history has been violence. And now there is a mathematical way to more efficiently distribute that intellectual property ownership. And with somebody like Peter Schiff wondering, like, what is it backed by? Well, we have just as much history backing the value of an idea and agreements as we do backing gold, because it's the other half of using gold as a currency. If I'm offering to pay you in gold and I get the stuff and I just club you instead of give you the gold, well, then that's what happens, but with Monero, you can actually contractually obligate somebody to their agreements with math, and the entire rest of the network is required to be indifferent to that exchange. So in other words, it's just as much of an upgrade to the existing economics as tokenized gold is supposed to be for gold as a store of value. And you kind of can't have one without the other, because if Peter is going to argue, well, gold is always going to make the rules, well, violence makes the rules for gold. And so what you really need is a way to remove the monopoly of violence in agreements in order to upgrade in basically intellectual property.
Yeah. Listen, you're not going to get any arguments here.
Yeah, I would say, like you kind of hinted at it, but the bull case or the bull thesis for Monero is actually outlined in a book called The Sovereign Individual. It was written in the 90s, or published in the 90s. And basically the argument is, okay, if we have, he predicted the idea of digital currencies, and it was like, okay, well, if we have this kind of wealth that can't be taxed, well, untaxed wealth is going to compound at a faster rate than tax wealth. So over the long run, these untaxed currencies will appreciate greater than these tax values. And that's just the way that compound interest works, is it's geometric growth. So it just goes up. Eventually it just wins out.
Well, one of the things about the famous quote from Milton Friedman predicting And they at first they were always saying Bitcoin. He was predicting Bitcoin, right? But if you listen to the entire discussion that he's making there, he's way more predicting the existence of Monero than Bitcoin, because the idea that a non-government controlled currency, which is clearly not Bitcoin at this point, the idea of that will eventually win out. One of the things that he's predicting is exactly that there's no competition with a government currency, because the minute you're extracting wealth, what did Einstein say the most powerful force in the universe was? It was the law of compound interest. And he's absolutely right. Anything that scales exponentially is always going to be more powerful than whatever competition does not. But the idea that it's backed by nothing was killed in the cradle millennia ago when it comes to specifically something with the properties of Monero. Now, as much as, I would definitely prefer like a Bitcoin over a dollar, of course, right? But the thing is without the actual fungibility that comes along with private by default, it can't defeat a monopoly on violence. Because as soon as you can target somebody, you can use violence to control their interactions. As soon as you have threats, you have to price that risk into whatever coin has the threat attached to it. So we know that this coin was used for this. Well, there is a threat of violence if you use that coin the same way as you use the other coin. And now somebody can buy that at a discount. Now, what happens if you create an institution that if they buy dirty coins, they're just automatically clean? Well, that particular institution has an arbitrage. So anytime there's dirty coins and then the government seizes them and they're now considered clean coins, they have a price arbitrage on all dirty coins. And if that same institution can declare something dirty until they own it again, which is the case, well, I'm sorry to tell you, Bitcoin people, but it's already over. And there's nothing you can do about it until you get privacy by default on the base layer. There's no way around it. And I mean, if you find one, I'd be happy to listen. But as far as I understand, as soon as you can create a price arbitrage where one coin is valued differently than another, you no longer have this utopia that you're hoping will exist.
Yeah, you don't have fungibility at that point.
I've seen like this like YouTube comment that has repeatedly on comments of news things. It's saying people are saying we're not voting our way out of this, and it's kind of a little bit of a black pill, a little bit of a red pill, but yeah, like it connects to Alaska Non's idea of the monopoly on violence and how can we break that. Yeah, it's definitely something that's heavy to think about, but ultimately, yeah, you can't just stay with the status quo. Everyone wants change, but sometimes you have to do difficult things.
I consider it a white pill that people are realizing they can't vote their way out of this. Just because you dress up mob rule with some decorative name like democracy or voting or whatever, it doesn't change the fact that it is mob rule. And appeal to the majority is a very, very old logical fallacy that people have used to keep bad ideas going for centuries longer than their life expectancy should have been. And if you genuinely believe that an idea doesn't stand on its merits alone in any capacity, no matter what that capacity is, you have abandoned the principle of meritocracy. It's so
wait, but we don't have mob rule. Like if we had mob rule, that would be a lot better than the current political situation.
Well, I always point out that anarchists have won every election in the United States going back to the inception of this country because more people choose not to vote for the winning candidate. So if there is a larger non-voting bloc than the winner of an election, doesn't that mean that nobody takes that seat and we should all just acknowledge that there is no politician in that seat? There is no democracy and there never has been. I, as a non-voter, a person who refuses to be led by somebody else if their name isn't Jesus, okay? If you are going to tell me that the anarchist vote doesn't count. Our choice to not participate is not allowed. It's already not following your own principles. So anarchists won every election. They don't actually respect the anarchist vote at all, which is perfect evidence that it's all a sham. But then, of course, who counts the votes and all of this other stuff. But to see so many people realizing that you're not going to vote your way out of this, it brings me great joy. I've been waiting for this day since I was 13 years old for people to realize that voting is a joke. And it's like, in fact, I consider it to be like a sinful worldview to think that you can appeal to the majority to legislate morality. It's antithetical to almost every major spiritual practice as well. So like these people abandon their supposed religion in order to follow something that's antithetical to its entire principle. I, for one, welcome our black-pilled friends and family into realizing that voting is evil, and it always has been. And it's I don't resent people for choosing to believe in it, because the indoctrination is, they've been saluting sky flags since 5 years old or whatever. And I sympathize with the fact that they've been led to believe that democracy is like a civil way to govern your society. But the minute you start calling it what it is, which is gang warfare and mob rule, and you just awaken them to the fact that this is quite literally the definition of those terms. This is gang warfare and mob rule. If I were to propose to you a government right now where we all just use mob rule, appeal to the majority, and gang violence to control the country, you'd say, oh, that's horrible. And then it's like, okay, well, can you please rationalize voting for me? And it's like, oh, well, the number is big enough. Like, what exactly are we doing here? Okay, fine. If you believe that, what about local elections? Like, what about, or, the idea that, like, at least with shareholders, it's voluntary. When you go into, like, when you're buying and selling shares for a company, at least people opted into it and they have skin in the game, and they parted with some of their own wealth in theory to end up with, like, at least there's like some level of voluntary interaction there. Government is the opposite. And there are countries that legally obligate you to vote. Like, that's, to me, that's insane to me. That, like, you can force somebody to agree to something. That's not what that word means. Like, it's total, like, clown world that we live in, and it has been for some time. But to, like, put a gun to somebody's head and say, pick somebody, who is going to be your slave master? I demand an answer right now.
Pick one of two. Here are your two options.
Now it's like only two options and three options sometimes. Like, there are countries where you literally have to choose between two candidates. Like, it's just unreal. Like, would you like to be murdered or would you like to be killed? Wait, what? Like,
wild times we live in, gentlemen. Wild times. I think we added
soapbox today. I'm sorry, guys. Like,
no, listen, I mean, the rants are the rants. I mean, they happen, to all of us. I think we added Ulysses. Do you have any questions for me or anything you wanted to bring up?
No, just wanted to hang out with y'all and enjoy the conversation.
Enjoy the conversation. All right, very good. Cool. Cool.
Yeah, I would just again have to reiterate, like, mob rule would be a lot better than what we have now.
that's a scary, true thought.
I wish we had mob rule, and the stupid things I had to worry about was people voting against nuclear energy because they're like, oh, it's gonna blow up. Like, no, we have something way worse than that.
Yeah, WebTech says that's how it is in Australia. And somebody else tipped as well, said Iran is accepting crypto for passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Venezuela's USDT was frozen. It's Monero's time to shine. That is right. I mean, every day we see USDT specifically being frozen. And I think there's a lot of countries these days that are, on the outs globally. And the truth of the matter is, it's like everybody deserves, true private and free money. And most people make the mistake of using things like USDT, USDC. I know you guys talked about earlier with Tron in Russia, especially, is being used extensively over there. But I do think the people that are more learned about this stuff are switching over to XMR. But it takes time.
This use case should get some love for DAI, the algorithmic stablecoin that doesn't have a blacklist.
Yeah, DAI is an interesting one. If I'm not mistaken, they have reserve funds of BTC and a few others, and then they mint it that way, which is also, you know, good to have. Obviously, it's still a transparent blockchain, but it's still better than some of the other options that are out there. But it's that's why it's just so surprising to me. Tether, especially, with their, you know, they're a company of what, 12 people or something like that, and they control billions of dollars. And there's no audits, no third party, you know, anything like that. So I feel like that's always been questionable, to say the least.
Oh,
Like-
Tether has documented.
I don't know if you know this.
Epstein fall.
We actually did a couple of shows ago. Myself, I know Body has shown some stuff too, but we were showing how at this point the connection between the Federal Reserve and Tether is just, it's undeniable. And then on top of that, I forget the guy, but one of the people who currently heads up the Tether project is both in the Epstein files and has gotten like tens of millions of dollars of just free money from all of these like shadowy corporate controlled government institutions. Like
I know who you're talking about. He was also like an actor. Like he's in like The Little Giants or something. Like
I think he was.
It's a crazy Wikipedia page. It's one of the craziest Wikipedia pages I've seen.
Yeah, it just reeks of early life. You know, it's like it's unbelievable how
No, not that early life.
Yes, I mean, eventually you don't even have to look, bro. But it's pretty wild to. Like they used to do a better job hiding this stuff, but I don't think they care anymore. I really don't.
The noticing will continue.
It's the way of the world. That's the way of the world, gentlemen. This is the way of the world these days. Well, look it. I probably have to figure out what we are eating tonight. So if there's nothing else for me, I am probably going to get going, but I've enjoyed the time with all you guys. I know Doug's probably, rolling around somewhere in his place. Yeah, I'm probably going to get going. I'll send him a little goodbye message as well after this, but it's been good hanging out, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
I speak for the entire community when I say we're very grateful that you immediately responded, came on, wore your heart on your sleeve like this. Thank you for what you're doing, man. It's awesome.
Yes, and if you have any updates or you want to come back on for any reason, please feel free to reach out. We would love to have you back on. It's been an amazing show with you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's been a great time, and I would say if we have any big releases or anything else like that, I'd be happy to come back on as well. Feel free to hit me up if anything happens and I forget or I get busy or whatever. Same rule goes, but I'm sure we can figure something out for the next time.
Joe, man, thank you, greatly appreciate you jumping on today, being so open with the community. And I'm loving the Trump impersonations. I think you're one of these.
Yeah. If you guys ever want that, we've got Doug Tooman. He hosts a great conference in Mexico. You know why? Because you can't get across the border so easily anymore. You used to be able to a few years ago. Now, not so much.
They were wide open.
Yeah. They were wide open before I came in here, frankly. Oh, man, that's a good time. Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Double getting Ray across that border, did they?
Yeah, you having some buddies. Listen, I'm sure you have. I mean,
No, yeah, Ray
over the border.
Youssef got arrested at the last Monero.
Oh yeah, I saw a little bit of your guys' podcast, but that was a crazy story that happened with him. But
crazy.
That dude is a badass. Like he like just getting kidnapped by the imperialists, and he's just like still shining, smiling, helping people out, like just not even phased after
he was like, who gets deported from Mexico?
Yes.
He's right.
Yeah.
Wild. We laugh, but I mean, that's a lot of stress he has to deal with now. He's built for it. If anybody's built for it, it's him. But, you know, honestly, though, prayers to him for having to deal with all that mess now. Oh, my God.
Dude,
Yeah,
I don't know if you
protect
guys
him.
noticed, but a bunch of us, like, we were just trying to do nice stuff to support him and whatever. And we're like, we'll send you food. It'll all be halal, whatever. And the dude is just so amazing. You can see this, like, in our back and forth. He's like, I really think we should send that to starving children before you. And, like, his default is always like, well, no, we should be helping people who are, you know, less fortunate than me. Like, he won't even let you support him without immediately diverting it to like starving kids in Africa. Like, no, go build a school. No, like, he just won't take anything, no matter how hard we try. But I mean, that's just who he is. Of course, that's why they hate him, right? You know, like, he's just the best dude ever.
All right, Joe. Thank you,
stuff.
man. Appreciate your time. Let us know when you want to jump up on again. You're always welcome.
Absolutely.
Viewers on stage, stop by any week you ever want to just jump up, tell us something.
Cool.
All
yeah,
right,
I appreciate it. All right, cool. Man. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.
Adios.
Right,
nice
bye.
meeting you. Nice meeting you, man. Nice meeting you. All right,
I'm about ready to bail too. Blaine and I are
yeah.
to the gym.
Yeah, we could call it here. Everybody get on with their days. Place your Carg Island bets. I don't know. It's only sitting there at a 13% likelihood for March 31st. April 30th is 35%.
Are you asking me to pump your bags here, Doug? Come on.
No, I didn't buy. I want to. I want to buy. I want to make that my first poly market bet. Actually, I might do that.
I'm almost positive if I place a bet, it's immediately gonna get banned. Because I'm debanked, right? So if I use any bank account whatsoever on like the normie web, it just immediately gets banned. But that would be kind of funny to watch.
Well, poly market you can not the crypto based one, right? There's the US based one, but then there's
it's named it's called Poly Market because it used to be just on the Polygon blockchain.
Right.
So yeah,
you could still access that one though, right? I mean,
yeah. You can definitely.
If you can do it in crypto, then I'll probably give it a go.
Yeah.
It might just be USDC. So I doubt maybe you're so based that like USDC automatically blacklists you. But
did you know that I have literally never ever owned a stable coin in my entire life? I've never even used one, and I've never accepted a payment in a stable coin, not one time.
I had to pay my friend in a stable coin this week, and like as soon as I paid him, I got dusted by some random phishing address, and I was like, "Dude, what list are you on, bro?"
Oh, jeez. All right, guys. I say we wrap it up here. Justice, you could go ahead and roll the credits.
All right, great show, guys.
God
See
bless
you guys next week, same time.
I'm gonna go look smacks.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube, ODYSEE, Rumble, Twitch, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to follow us on X or join us in the Monerotopia Telegram group. See you all next week. Thank you for joining us